It would be best if I passed the examination. I'll start immediately. It would be best if I passed the examination. I'll start immediately. The fact that you have survived the first and second trials is proof of your strength. I hope that you will be able to take care of the last trial with your utmost vigor. Use your strongest strengths to deal with it. Those in the top 100 will receive special rewards. The top 10 will receive the qualifications to be chosen by the Elder of Inner House. Before the results, the 3 of you will be personally received by the sect head, and you will also be rewarded with a special divine treasure. If it's the top scholar, congratulations. Other than these rewards, you will also get a chance to train in Holy Abyss ruins. As soon as he finished speaking, the tens of thousands of disciples in the plaza exploded. No one felt sorry for those who had died. For them, it was a matter of great joy to lose so many competitors. There's a reward for entering the top 100. In the past, the reward was to directly become an inner disciple, but this year there are fewer people, so I estimate that the reward will be even more generous. If only the top 10 gets chosen by the Elder of Inner House, they might even become closed-off disciples. At that time, they will truly be in the limelight. This year, I will definitely fight for it. What do you think the Sovereign's special treasure reward will be? It definitely won't be bad. If I can enter the Holy Abyss ruins to cultivate, that would be great. I heard from the distant relative of the old man next door, cousin's family's master, Wang Dahai, that without the sect master's permission, I would need 100,000 points to exchange for an opportunity to enter the Holy Abyss ruins to cultivate. Can you see how rare it is? Any disciple who can enter the Holy Abyss ruins to cultivate will have a chance of becoming a disciples of secret sect. At this time, Yang Jin walked in front of Long Fei and lightly said. Tan Dapao was startled. He stared at Yang Jin and said, Goldfur, I haven't seen you since you left Dark Magic Forest. When did you come back? Yang Jin scratched his head and laughed. I came back with you guys. It's just that you guys did not notice me. Tan Dapao said. That can't be. You have golden fur on your head. Not to mention the immortal Peng's back. Even if we were 100 miles away, I would still be able to see your shiny fur. The sudden disappearance of the Dark Magic Forest. And then suddenly appear. Tan Dapao's observation skills were very strong. This was the ability that the launcher should have. Thus, he would observe every place carefully. Even though there were tens of thousands of people on the back of the immortal rock, he really did not see Yang Jin. Yang Jin laughed. I was slightly injured and was carried up to the immortal rock. When I was lying on the ground, of course you wouldn't be able to see me. Long Fei slightly smiled, and said, You said secret sect. What is the secret sect? Actually didn't want to reveal it, and Long Fei didn't want Tan Dapao to continue pursuing the matter either. Furthermore, the reason why such a person appeared by his side was definitely not simply because he had 2 beauties by his side. Yang Jin said, The so-called secret sect is the elite existence of the factory sect. The immortal karma is divided into 8 peaks, a quiet one and a dense one. The 8 peaks are the sword peaks. The Wu's Peak S, the Powder Peak S, the Peak Shen S, the Beast Hill S, the Fufeng S, and the Saints Hill S of the main peaks are all quiet as the Meditation Peak S. You will see these when you enter the factory sect. There is one other place that no one knows about and no one can see. Only a few elders and sect masters in factory sect know of it, which is the Mi sect. He was the most mysterious place in factory sect. It was also the strongest power. Yang Jin lowered his voice and said, According to the legends, the disciples of the secret sect cultivate in another world, and one could be considered one in 1,000 miles if they were able to become a disciples of secret sect. The reason factory sect is able to become an overlord of the western regions is because of the existence of this secret sect. Training in another world? Long Fei asked with interest. It should be a certain secret world, right? Yang Jin said, It's not the secret world, it's another world. Tan Dapao said in disbelief. Does the factory sect have a place to link to another plane? Isn't this nonsense? It is impossible for such a place to appear in such a high-level plane like the universal realm. The higher the plane, the more perfect it was. It was a very normal thing to say that the strongest realm beneath the ancient world was the secret world. However, when it was linked to another plane, no one would believe it. Yang Jin did not argue. It's just a legend, whether or not it's true, only the disciples of the secret sect know. Alright, let's not talk too much. The final trial is about to begin. Tan de Pau asked, Goldfur, how do you know so much? You can't be a disciple from another sect who wants to become a spy in Fatry sect, right? Just like how disciples of magic sect snuck in. This sort of thing happens a lot. Moreover, there must be disciples from other sects in Fatry sect. At the same time, the Fatry sect had also planted disciples in other sects to gather information. Yang Jin's eyes moved slightly as he said, my goal in life is to enter the Fatry sect, enter the secret sect, and become the #1 supreme powerhouse of the western regions. TCH, Tan de Pau contemptuously said, I still want to be the God's tribe's Jizun. Discussions rose and fell in the plaza, and they didn't stop for a long time. The elders on the stage were very satisfied with the discussions, because no one was asking about the matters from the previous 2 stages. After all, so many people had died, so the impact on the Fatry sect was extremely bad. At this time, one of the elders took a step forward and his voice shook. He directly crushed the entire plaza and said, the previous 3rd stage was a competition. However, it's different this year. While they were talking, the elder looked behind him, his gaze directed towards the depths of the clouds. Next. Hualala. Hualala. The entire arena was shocked. From the clouds, a flight of stairs descended all the way to the plaza. The moment the sky stairway moved, it instantly condensed. It turned into a set of ordinary stairs, leading up to the clouds. One could not see the end of the stairs. The elder said indifferently, this is called a ladder question of God, whoever can walk on it, whoever can finish it, will have to take the test, and the result will be decided by the amount of time passed. To you guys, this is just a set of heaven stairway. Once you pass, you will be a disciple of our Fatry sect. I won't restrict your methods. You just need to climb up and you will pass. Tan de Pau was slightly taken aback. Damn, it's that simple? It can't be because too many people died in the first 2 stages, so you want to atone for your sins and let everyone enter the Fatry sect, right? Looking at the ladder question of God, Long Fei felt that this ladder was not simple. Yang Jin frowned and said faintly, this ladder is not simple. It is one of the 10 great divine treasures of the Fatry sect. I never expected it to be used for the examination using a ladder question of God. Tan de Pau asked, Goldfur, what do you know about it? Yang Jin said, this staircase can see through people's hearts, walking up is like walking into an illusion. I do not know what exactly you will encounter. But I am certain that this test is not that simple. People will die. Yang Jin's expression was very solemn. It could be seen that this trial was not that easy to pass. Yang Jin's expression was very solemn. It could be seen that this trial was not that easy to pass. There was a limit to the disciples that the Fatry sect could recruit every year. They would choose geniuses from the ranks of the geniuses, and even if there were a large number of casualties in the first 2 stages, the 3rd stage was still very strict. This was also the reason. It wouldn't be long before all the disciples who entered the Fatry sect were able to break through the royal realm. Long Fei took a glance at the ladder in the clouds and said, right now, all of you do not have any battle gear on you. You must be careful in everything you do, and do not try to be brave. Whether I succeed or fail, my life is the most important thing. The 3 of them nodded, and they couldn't help but clench their fists. He didn't want to stop here after half a year of hard work. They knew Long Fei's strength, and if they wanted to follow Long Fei, they had to step into the Fatry sect. Amongst the 3 of them, especially Tan de Pau, he looked determined, and thought to himself, even if I have to risk my life, I will still rush forward. Long Fei patted Tan de Pau's shoulder, and said, this ladder question of God is definitely related to the nature of the heart. It should be a type of mental test. Persevere and guard the heart. Do not be enchanted by the temptations. The path of the martial arts training is also like this. Do not forget the heart. Tan de Pau nodded. Thank you for your reminder, boss. I will. The examination begins. Those who have read out their names, please step forward. The elder gave a faint sound and the disciples in the plaza quickly swarmed over, afraid that they would not hear the elder's name. This sort of test is practically sending us to Fatry sect. It's just a ladder, who doesn't know how to climb it? Ha ha ha. I feel like we are now all disciples of the Fatri sect. Above the clouds should be the Fatri sect. This is to let us directly become the disciples of the Fatri sect. Sending sub-questions. Ha ha ha. Many disciples were ecstatic. They did not put ladder question of God in their eyes, but it looked like a normal ladder. As long as you could climb it, that was fine. In the air above the clouds. The patriarchs of the Fatri sect were gathered at the end of the ladder. An elder said lightly, "How many people do you think will be able to climb this ladder this year?" The white-browed elder said, "How many people? It would be nice if these people could climb up to the middle." The red-robed elder smiled and said, "Ladder question of God, we are testing a person's true nature. We are testing whether he has immortal karma. How many people in this world can have immortal karma?" Just like what the white-browed elder said, to be able to climb halfway is already not bad. To climb up here, one needs not only talent, but perseverance, and even more, immortal karma. An elder said, "There are too many temptations on the path of the martial arts training, rights, money, beauties. As long as one is slightly unable to resist any of these temptations, the path of the martial arts training will become crooked. To pass through all of them is simply too difficult." The red-robed elder laughed. Seeing them challenge the ladder question of God made me think of young sect master. They are really the number one person in Fatri sect. How long did he take? All the elders were startled and revealed a proud look. Ju Yuan made every single one of them feel incomparably proud. The white-browed elder stroked his beard and smiled. 1 hour and 3 minutes. This is the best record in history. Until now, no one has broken it. I'm afraid this record will continue to be maintained. That must be it. Young sect master is a peerless genius who hasn't appeared in 10,000 years. Let alone these newbies, even if we tried to challenge the ladder question of God again, it would take more than 2 hours. From the moment the young sect master was born, he was already a divine-level talent. Who can compare with the holy vein? Killing the devil sect's heavenly eye demon sovereign has caused a sensation in the entire western regions. He is already the number one genius of the western regions. Just you wait, the young sect master of the 10,000 sects will definitely shine. Ha ha ha. When they talked about Ju Yuan, all the elders started to praise him. It was not because of his identity, but because of his talent. His cultivation would not be revered in the world of Powerhouse just because of his identity. If one wanted to gain respect and be revered, strength was the best proof of that. Ju Yuan was like a mythical existence in the Fatri sect, and at present, there was no one who could break the myth he had created. At this moment, an elder looked at Xiong Halian and said, "Elder Xiong, you have interacted with many new disciples in Dark Magic Forest. Do you think that one of them will be able to climb onto the ladder question of God?" Everyone looked at Xiong Halian. In the eyes of the Saints' Temple, who held Xiong Halian in high regard, he had now become the most popular person in the Mr. Celestial's eyes. Xiong Halian smiled faintly. "I have hunted disciples of magic sect down in the Dark Magic Forest and I have not come into contact with anyone. If you insist on asking, I think there should still be people who can make it here, but they are definitely not comparable to the young sect master." He had witnessed everything in the Dark Magic Forest. In his heart, Long Fei was very powerful and incredibly mysterious. He should be able to pass. Everyone was startled, and said, "Since Elder Xiong already said that, then it looks like there will be something worth watching this year." Liu City. Here. A senior realm warrior quickly walked up, his face full of excitement, as if he was going to be the first one to become a Fatri sect disciple. Elder replied, "The Sky Stairway." Liu Cheng said, "Yes." He did not hide the excitement on his face as he ran forward. Looking at the heaven stairway in the sky, he clenched his fists and gave an excited laugh. I want to charge forward in one breath." And then, he stepped onto the heaven stairway and charged into the net like a madman. As he ran, he kept laughing. "Ha ha ha. I am going to become the first Fatri sect disciple. I am going to become the top scholar. I am going to become the strongest disciple. Nanyu, you slut. Bring this daddy here a green hat. Just you wait, this daddy will become a disciple of Fatri sect soon. Just you wait, just kneel in front of me and lick my shoes. Ha ha ha." Excited. He seemed to have gone completely crazy. He was madly rushing forward. However, that was in his world, and what Long Fei and the rest had seen was him standing on the first step of the ladder question of Goddess stairs without moving an inch. Not a step. But it was as if he himself was about to clear the level. It was hard to imagine. Everyone shivered slightly, not knowing what had just happened. Long Fei frowned. Was it an illusion? Tan Depao's eyebrows also tightened up. Yang Jin said lightly, I failed. Su Su stuck out her tongue and said, this. Isn't it too fast? No matter what, he is a senior realm, why can't he even go up to the second step? Yang Jin said indifferently, do you know how powerful the ladder question of God is now? It may be better for him not to go up the second step, because he may not even have a life. The elder looked at Liu Cheng, who had gone mad, and said coldly, failure, pull it down. The entire process took only a few seconds. This was too difficult. The two disciples went up and dragged Liu Cheng down. Liu City continued to struggle. What are you doing? What do you want? I'll soon pass the examination. I'll soon become this year's top scholar. The moment he was dragged down the heaven stairway, it was as if he had walked out of an illusion. His eyes stared blankly for a moment. Why am I here? It was also at this time. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. The crowd burst into laughter. Many people were laughing loudly. Big fool, you were just going crazy on the first step. You don't even know it yourself. You still want to become a top scholar? If you don't take a piss, you should know your own limits. Stop dreaming. Oh right, who is Nanyu? Who's the one who gave you the green hat? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. More people laughed. Liu Cheng's face was as pale as pig's liver. He would rather be slapped in the face ruthlessly than to reveal the secret in his heart. He wanted to get angry, but it would not be beneficial for a senior realm cultivation to get angry here. He let out a mad howl, and his entire body crumbled apart. He ran down the mountain like a madman. Many people in the crowd burst out into laughter. They did not even think that such a situation would happen to them. Next, a tall and sturdy man walked out. Let me. Even that trash wants to pass through the heaven stairway? You're overestimating yourself. Watch me. While they were talking, he then walked up the stairs, taking his first heavy step up. It was a firm step, and he didn't seem to have gone mad from excitement. It seemed that he had passed the first step. And then he took the second step. The moment he landed on the ground, the brawny man's face suddenly flushed red. His hands gripped his slender fingers and his small eyes narrowed. Damn it, I've missed you. He then made a coquettish pose and wiggled his big butt. He was like an old cow in heat. It made people feel incomparably evil. Many people looked at their own expressions as if they were committing evil. It was simply too disgusting. The brawny man twisted his body and dragged his clothes. Damned devil, the Lun family has been cleaned for nothing. Let's wait for you to attack. F***ck, I can't take it anymore. I'm about to throw up. Damned motherfucker, damnable pervert. I didn't expect that a man of great stature would suffer so much. Too abnormal. The few elders could not bear to watch this any longer. Their eyes flickered as they nodded in acknowledgement. Two disciples quickly rushed up and pulled the sturdy man down from the ladder. No, don't leave me. Leave me. I will love you for the rest of my life. The brawny man was like an abandoned woman as he whined in a fawning manner. That voice was so disgusting that it made people want to die. At the same time, there were also many people who were laughing maniacally. When the sturdy man walked down the heaven stairway, he was shocked. Looking at his bare shoulder and burning cheeks, he immediately recalled the scene in his mind. Yank. Damn pervert. Damn you. My eyes have been blinded. Scram. The brawny man did not dare to make a sound. Lowering his head, he quickly ran away as if he did not dare to meet anyone. His heart also collapsed. This was his most private secret, but if it were to be made public in front of tens of thousands of people, it would create a shadow in his heart, so he was afraid that the journey on the martial arts training would come to an end. 2 times in a row. even though he didn't want to die, but the end of the martial arts training was even worse than taking their lives. The ladder question of God's test was simply too cruel. However, this was reality. Reality was just that cruel. Long Fei was a little unhappy in his heart. This kind of examination was no different from uncovering the scars in everyone's heart. It was a secret, with no privacy at all. What he was worried about was, what if he did the same, and said that he had a game system in his head? Immediately, Long Fei walked forward and said, "Elder, isn't this test a bit too cruel? Everyone had their own secrets, how could they endure being announced in front of so many people? Should I put it in a secret location for the assessment?" The elder looked at Long Fei and said, "What you say makes sense, but this is the effect that we want. If one can't even look at his own scars and wounds on the road of martial arts training, then this person is destined to not walk too far. The ladder question of God is an examination, and at the same time, he is also a type of cleansing. Let each of you look at yourself and recognize yourself. If you don't even dare to recognize yourself, you might as well stop cultivating and use more energy to accompany your family and friends." The other person impatiently walked up and stared at Long Fei. "Brat, if you don't want to take the test, then scram, don't waste your time here." Next. She did not want to chat with Long Fei. Long Fei did not have the qualifications to stay in Luohua City. Long Fei's heart sank, and he said, "Face yourself." Yang Jin slightly said, "Ladder question of God is one of the 10 great treasures of the Fatri sect. They can only look themselves in the eye for a reason. What they want to do is to clear out the entire disciples of magic sect, and expose the people that have evil thoughts in their hearts. This is the immortal sect. They are absolutely not allowed to have devil Dao people. Next. Drag him away. Next. What a piece of trash, drag it out. B. People kept coming forward, and people kept getting dragged down. Long Fei observed everything carefully. Every step was a form of temptation, as if the ghost in your heart was activated before you could step on it. All sorts of temptations. This kind of ladder question of God would test the human heart, but did the world have no desire? If he really had no desire, then why would he come here? 2 hours passed. Next, Prince of God's Eagle walked out and looked coldly at Long Fei. He sneered, "Lame duck, look clearly at how this prince climbed up the sky stairway." While they were talking, Prince of God's Eagle took a step forward. 1 step. 2 steps. 3 steps. Continuously rising, all the way was very magnanimous. 10 minutes passed and he was still stepping forward. He had already stepped onto the 100th step and many of the elders were happy. There's finally someone who can step up to the 100th step. The Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Empire seems to have some talent, he's not simple at all. When he was 120 steps away, Prince of God's Eagle's face suddenly changed. He shouted loudly, "You dog, you think you're fit to fight with me? Who do you think you are? Isn't that the pavilion master of the Xianwu Pavilion? It's just a crappy shop. I'll make it disappear from this world within minutes." He was talking about Long Fei. Long Fei's gaze tightened. Am I the devil in his heart now? It seems like this heaven stairway can't be used the normal way. 2 disciples brought the Prince of God's Eagle down. The elder said excitedly, 120 steps. Pass. Pass the assessment. The moment Prince of God's Eagle walked down the heaven stairway, the surroundings burst into applause. The moment Prince of God's Eagle walked down the heaven stairway, the surroundings burst into applause. Awesome. The first one to pass the examination, as expected of the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Empire. The prince is awesome. Walking down the heaven stairway, he directly walked in front of Long Fei and sneered, "Trash, have you seen it clearly?" In his heart, he was very unhappy with Long Fei. Originally, he could have walked even higher, but because of Long Fei's sudden appearance, his entire body exploded out in a moment, and stopped at the 120th step. Tan Dapao immediately went up to him and said, "You dog money thing, are you trying to cause trouble?" Immediately, a few clan elders who were beside Prince of God's Eagle rushed forward to protect Prince of God's Eagle. Prince of God's Eagle glanced at Tan Dapao and laughed coldly, "You trash want to fight me? Kid, a person with a low cultivation like you can't even take the second step? 120 steps, do you see clearly? All your life, you've only been looking up to it, ha ha ha. Prince of God's eagle laughed crazily as he glanced at Long Fei, then turned and left with a smile. Tan De Pao couldn't help but say, "Boss, I can't tolerate this any longer." Susu also said, "I can't tolerate it either. Look at his arrogant attitude. I really want to give him a hard slap. What the hell is that?" Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "If a dog bites you, you can't go up and bite the dog and bring it back. There's only one way for this kind of person, and that is to slap their face." He raised his eyes slightly and looked at a spot 120 steps away. Long Fei's lips curled up slightly. 120 steps, right? I want to reach the heavens. Long Fei's heart trembled. After 2 hours of observation, he was now completely sure that the so-called ladder question of God was inside an illusory realm. It was hard to break out of these illusions. However, but Long Fei had a king of illusions in his body. Using illusions to break through illusions, it allowed you to fall into his illusions without being noticed at all. Next, Yang Jin. Suddenly, the elder on the stage shouted. Tan De Pao said, "It's your turn, I'll kill him." Yang Jin slightly smiled, and without saying more, he slowly walked forward. He took a step forward. Very calm. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, Long Fei also observed every single detail carefully. Both he and Long Fei knew that this golden hair was not an ordinary person. 10 steps. 50 steps. 100 steps. It was done in one go without any hesitation. Tan De Pao said slightly, if the 100 steps were the assessment standard, he would have already passed the examination. Lan Mai said, "I never thought that the golden hair is hidden so deeply." Tan De Pao asked, "Boss, what do you think his rank will be?" Long Fei didn't think about it further and said, "Over 1,000 steps." Tan De Pao was startled. Long Fei said slightly, "His goal is the secret sect. If he wants to pass the examination, it is extremely important, and there are elders watching him here, as well as some in the higher ups. If he wants to enter the secret sect, he must perform well enough, and make all the elders above moved. It is impossible without taking 1,000 steps." It was exactly as Long Fei had expected. Yang Jin quickly charged forward, every step extremely fast. They practically jogged. It took less than half a minute to walk from 100 to 500 steps. The surrounding people were also stunned. The elders on the stage also became excited. Only the Prince of God's eagle had an ugly expression. By the time he reached 800 steps, his speed had already slowed down. However, he was still working hard and persevering. By this time, he had already arrived in midair. 1 hour later. Step 1000. Another half an hour passed. The Prince of God's eagle stopped at 1,100 steps. Strangely, he did not reveal anything. He himself flew down from the 1,100 step position. Now that he was 2/3 of the way, with his perseverance and cultivation, he could still advance, at least another 100 steps. But he didn't. Long Fei was a little puzzled at this point. What are you hiding? However, he didn't think too much about it. 1,100 steps, qualified. The elder on the stage walked towards Yang Jin with an excited expression and said, "Young man, not bad, not bad." Yang Jin looked exhausted, and panted, "Thank you, clan elder." Ha ha ha. The few elders smiled faintly. They liked it very much. The elder above the ladder question of God was also surprised. "Your talent is not bad, and your potential is also not bad. It's just that your perseverance is a bit lacking, but you have reached the standard." Next, Tan De Pao. As soon as his voice faded, Tan De Pao's eyes shook as he said excitedly, "It's my turn." Long Fei looked at Tan De Pao, and said, "It's good as long as you do your best." Tan De Pao did not directly walk forward, but first walked in front of Prince of God's eagle and sneered, "Grandson, open your dog eyes wide and you will see clearly." Prince of God's eagle's face turned sinister. Tan De Pao immediately stepped onto the ladder question of God. It was not fast, but his steps were steady and every step he took was incomparably sturdy. Was very clear in his heart that he could not walk too fast, and only by walking step by step would he be able to walk further. Compared to the people of Universal Realm, who were native-born, he had no advantage at all. The only advantage he had was that he had a little more martial arts experience than the people of Universal Realm. Furthermore, he wanted to follow Long Fei down the stairs, so he had to be extremely careful with every step he took. 10 times. 100 steps. Then, after another 500 steps, he had no intention of stopping. Prince of God's Eagle's face turned ugly. It was fiery hot, as if someone had pressed down on his face and fiercely kicked it. 800 steps. His steps began to become a bit unsteady. Tan de Pao sweated profusely. All sorts of things had happened in his world. His right arm moved, and started sweeping frantically. Boom, boom, boom. And then, the 900th step wasn't over, and he was still trying his best. It was also at this moment that blood started to flow out from the corners of his mouth and chest. He did not stop. Step by step, he climbed up. For the 1000th step, he was still working hard. He would do everything he could to go higher. 1,200 steps, Tan de Pao's entire body was practically covered in blood, and his entire body seemed to have been submerged in blood. Finally, the steps were fixed at 1,499 steps. Whether it was the plaza or the clouds, both were shaken by Tan de Pao. Your willpower is extraordinary. This person should have suffered a lot. Only with great perseverance will he be able to achieve great things. The only pity is that he is a launcher, and compared to that person from before, I have my eyes on the one in front of us more. Tan de Pao was carried down the stage, panting. He stopped in front of the Prince of God's Eagle and laughed in disdain. Trash, did you see that clearly? You dare to be cocky at 120 steps. Prince of God's Eagle clenched his teeth and his face turned ugly. Tan de Pao, 1,499 steps, passed the examination. Su Su, 1675 steps, passed the examination. Lan Mai, go to the skies, take 3 hours. Next, Long Fei. Next, Long Fei. Next, Long Fei. As soon as his voice faded, Long Fei let out a light breath and slowly walked forward. It seems like he is also from the East Imperial City. What's going on this year? There are monsters everywhere in the East Imperial City, and that blue-haired girl from earlier was able to pass through the sky. Isn't that too amazing? The other girl is powerful as well. Her entire body is emitting the power of the elves. This is only a small number. East Imperial City is a land of trash. This cannot be changed, and even if they enter Factory Sect, it will be useless. In the future, their cultivation will be restricted and they will not be able to accomplish anything big. I think so. I heard that in the entire Factory Sect, there is only one disciple who is at East Imperial City, and that even the Face Emperor realm is unable to break through. Even if they pass the ladder question of God's test, I'm afraid not many elders like them. The surrounding people continued to discuss with each other. Just as they had said, Yuan Tianwang was an example of a forerunner. The white horse exploring the flowers, at that time, had already been tossed 18 streets away by the same wave of disciples. Many elders of the Factory Sect scoffed at the people of the East Imperial City. Even Lan Mai Tongtian did not reveal much surprise on his face. Just because Lan Mai was from the East Imperial City. It was too embarrassing that they did not want Yuan Tianwang's matter to occur again in their hands. Yuan Tianwang was looked down upon by others, and even the elder who had chosen him back then was ridiculed by others as well. The surrounding people discussed. Long Fei secretly clenched both his fists. He was extremely dissatisfied with the discussion that had taken place in the East Imperial City's wasteland. He did not refute or argue with them. He knew. Washing one's disgrace did not rely on words, but on strength. Long Fei walked in front of the sky stairway, took a glance at the stairs leading up to the sky, and asked, Elder, may I ask what is the shortest time to cross the sky stairway? The clan elder glanced at Long Fei with disdain in his eyes, and laughed. What? Do you still want to break the record? You only have the cultivation of God's elephant state, understand? This ladder question of God is to let you all recognize yourself. Don't bite off more than you can chew or you will fail. Prince of God's Eagle, who was beaten to a pulp by the side, jumped up from his seat and disdainfully laughed. You think you can break the record? Why don't you take a piss out of yourself? Long Fei ignored the Prince of God's Eagle. However, being ignored by Long Fei, Prince of God's Eagle was extremely unhappy and immediately shouted in anger, "Brat, I'm talking to you." Long Fei looked at him and said, "Your face hasn't gotten swollen yet. You still want to get beaten up?" Just now, Tan De Pao's, Su Su's, and Lan Mai's results had all far surpassed the Prince of God's Eagles, to the point that their faces were swollen. Prince of God's Eagle was like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He instantly jumped up and said, You are you, a mere trash of the God's elephant state. Who do you think you are? A piece of trash like you wants to break the record? Do you want the East Imperial City to be the place to wash up trash? Kid, if you can break the record of the young sect master of Factory Sect, then I will eat all the tea that I pulled out. The clamor was very fierce. Eat feces? Long Fei said, or do you want to eat by yourself? Damn, you even have this kind of hobby. Prince of God's Eagle was so angry that smoke was coming out from his head. As long as you can break the record, I will eat tea, but if you cannot break the record, then kneel down in front of me and kowtow while calling out for father. Do you dare to bet? Long Fei's eyes turned cold. Without waiting for him to speak, Prince of God's Eagle said aggressively, "Are you afraid? With trash like you, if not in Factory Sect, you would have died 10,000 times already. Wanting to break a record, how laughable." The corner of Long Fei's mouth rose, and said, "Since you want to eat shit, then I'll grant your wish. Elder, what's the record?" The elder's face was also filled with cold smiles as he said, "Factory Sect's first record, young sect masters 1 hour and 3 minutes, this record is comparable to a miraculous existence. It can be said that no one can break it." Prince of God's Eagle immediately laughed out loud. "Trash, did you hear that? 1 hour and 3 minutes. Initially, he was still worried, but after hearing the elder's words, his heart was finally at ease. No one could break this record. Although ladder question of goddess were not directly related to a person's cultivation level, a person's personality would become more resolute the higher their cultivation level. Long Fei was the real God's elephant state, and could be said to be the lowest of the disciples in the entire exam. With this cultivation, you want to break a record? A fantasy story. Many people in the crowd began to mock him. You want to break young sect master's record? Isn't this too ridiculous? Doesn't he know who he is? This isn't called crazy, this is called asking to be humiliated. He's going to lose. He dares to accept such a gamble. Ignorant, too ridiculous. Who does he think he is? You must know that back then when the young sect master tried to challenge the ladder question of God, his cultivation was already at the Emperor realm. It could be said that no one was optimistic about Long Fei. Because that was impossible. Ladder question of goddess, every step is filled with temptation. If you want to resist these temptations, you have to rely on your own will and perseverance. No one can pass through the heaven stairway in such a short period of time. Prince of God's Eagle had a complacent smile on his face. Kid, it's still too late for you to regret this. Kneel down and kowtow to apologize, maybe I'll spare you. Very cocky. It was as if he had one for sure. Long Fei looked at him and said, "Get ready to eat tea." With that, he stepped onto the heaven stairway. He stood on the first step of the sky stairway and hesitated, but his heart suddenly shivered. As expected, the ladder question of God is a huge illusion land stood motionlessly on the first step. The people behind him all started to mock him. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. So far, there hasn't been anyone who has failed at the first step, right? This is too trashy. Those who came from the wasteland are all trash. Prince, it looks like you've won. Many people were laughing at him. Prince of God's Eagle was even more cocky. Brat, I will definitely humiliate you in a while. Right now, his mind was filled with the scene of Long Fei kneeling in front of him. Long Fei was not in a hurry. After experiencing the illusion inside the ladder question of God, he raised his eyes slightly and looked at the heaven stairway that led to the clouds. The corner of his mouth hooked up. Mongoose, come out. Illusion realm. Illusion techniques. With the monster, the king of illusions, as a boss, Shifeng was not afraid of illusions. Invisibility. He was an anime character that Long Fei had summoned. He could choose to hide himself so that no one around could see him, or he could choose to reveal his true appearance. The weasel was dressed in a red cloud-black robe. It called out softly, "Master." Long Fei said, "Break all the illusions here." The weasel did not speak, and its eyes twitched. The Sheringan began to revolve. Immediately, the illusions on the ladder question of God all shattered. It was also at this time. Long Fei was neither fast nor slow, he walked up step by step. With the illusion broken, the steps on the heaven stairway were like ordinary steps. With the illusion broken, the steps on the heaven stairway were like ordinary steps. There was no obstruction, no temptation. He walked slowly from the beginning to the end, and finally to the end. Long Fei seemed to have taken flight. Run! Everyone was dumbfounded. They all looked up to the sky and were dumbfounded when they saw Long Fei running frantically on the heaven stairway. Those people who had mocked Long Fei earlier all had their faces burning. It was as if they had been slapped a few times, especially the Prince of God's Eagle. His eyes stared at the sky as his body trembled. He could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. It was unknown if he was thinking of eating shit or what he was doing, but he revealed a disgusted expression. Tan De Pao laughed excitedly. "Get ready to eat your *T. Boss is indeed mighty and domineering." He was incomparably excited. Su Su was the same as well. He was extremely excited. Yang Jin was also in a daze, his brain did not seem to have enough power, and felt that it was impossible. But the reality was right in front of his eyes, and after holding it in for a long time, he said, "Damn, this is too abnormal, isn't it?" Bang, bang, bang. His steps felt like they were flying. There was no obstruction. It felt so good to cheat. Moreover, no one could find out about this cheating. Breaking the record was only a matter of time now. In the air above the clouds, the elder of Inner House S were also dumbfounded. This youth. He was completely shocked, speechless. He was completely dumbstruck by Long Fei's speed. At this moment, Xiong Halian, who had always been at the back of the crowd, walked to the front and revealed a faint smile. Seeing Long Fei flying quickly, he became even more pleased with himself. "Your talent is indeed very strong, but no matter how talented you are, even if you break the record, you still won't be able to escape from me." The heart. The white-browed elder asked, "Who is this youth?" "Don't argue with me, my powder peak wants him this year." "Damn, old geezer Chen, what do you mean by that? Even my Peakshan didn't say anything, when will it be your turn?" "Oh, you want to snatch my Beast Hills people? You guys are overthinking it. If you can steal from me, can you steal from the secret sect?" Upon hearing the two words secret sect, many of the elders instantly became listless like eggplants. The secret sect was the elite of the factory sect. Every disciple had to be carefully selected before they could enter. Moreover, the secret sect could choose disciples from any of the peaks, and could not stop them. Thus, no matter how they fought and fought, in the end, they couldn't snatch the secret sect away. However, Xiong Halian smiled slightly and said, "I can." Everyone thought about the promise Mr. Celestial had made to Xiong Halian and came to a realization. "Elder Xiong, your skills are brilliant. You knew he was going to do it, right? Such a genius, his future accomplishments will be limitless. Can your Horcruxes Hill cultivate him? Elder Xiong, didn't you want the Sky Essence Rock Steel? I'll give you 10 catties, how about you give him to me? I bid 15 jin. I weigh 20 jin." Heavenly Essence Rock Steel was an extremely rare material for refining. Let alone a jin, even a tael of it was worth several billion grand mist crystals. It was a priceless existence. However, Xiong Halian smiled faintly, and said, "All elders, I am truly sorry, but I cannot let this person go. Let alone 20 kilograms of Sky Essence Rock Steel, he wouldn't even trade Long Fei for 20,000 kilograms. Because the God's Design Attics refining fire was 100 times more expensive than these things." When everyone heard Xiong Halian's words, they all became discouraged. He could only watch with reddened eyes. Bang, bang, bang. Long Fei was still wildly flying. Half an hour later, boom. One step went through the sky, and the time was fixed at 31 minutes. It took less than half of Zhu Yuan's time. It was also at this moment that the entire factory sect trembled, and countless elders flew out. A new record has been recorded for the ladder question of God. Impossible, young sect master's record can be said to be unbreakable. Even the powerhouse S of the God's holy state can't break it. Who can? It's a rookie. Above the 8 peaks, the ladder question of God rumbled. The elders of the powerhouse came out. They were all staring at the faraway heavenly pavilion. Ha ha ha. It's that kid. Beast Hill's crazy wolf suddenly laughed out loud, but the roar of sky touching beside him revealed its sinister fangs, and growled out. It only growled, and continued to hide behind the crazy wolf, just like a scared puppy. The crazy wolf's smile became even more joyous. Good boy, to be able to cause fear in the roar of sky touching, you are truly not simple. If you can become my disciple. No way. I have to go to Mr. Celestial to ask for this brat. Meditation peak. Shenyuan Li was not perturbed by the ladder question of God's rumbling sounds outside, but focused on her cultivation. Ever since she returned from the 1,000 temples, she had not taken a step out of the meditation peak. A female disciple came over hurriedly and said, "Peak owner, someone has broken the record of the ladder question of God." Shenyuan Li's eyes opened slightly, and answered faintly, "Oh." The female disciple asked, "Peak owner, why aren't you curious at all? That was the record set by the young sect master, so wouldn't you be curious who he is?" Shenyuan Li said indifferently, "Records are for people to break, there is nothing to be curious about." Finished. Shenyuan Li closed his eyes once again and started cultivating. The female disciple muttered, "If someone were to break my fiancé's record, I would definitely be curious." In all of Factory Sect, most likely only the meditation peak remained quiet. Many others rushed out from the other peaks. Ha ha ha. It really is. Brother Long Zheng Yuanhang became excited, breaking the young sect master's record. Isn't this too awesome? Qin Shuang's eyes were also filled with admiration, and she said, "As expected of Brother Long, you are extraordinary. Other people would be astounding if they didn't make a sound, but he is even more astonishing if he made a sound each time. He doesn't stop at all. He's too awesome." Chu Qing was also smiling, truly powerful. An elder walked up to them and asked, "Do you know him?" Zhang Yuanhang said, "It's more than just knowing each other, we have fought together before." The old man said, "Good, then Master will now issue a mission. Whoever can bring him here will get 1,000 sect points." The three's eyes lit up, and they couldn't help but become excited. "Master, this is a big effort of yours." The old man stroked his beard and laughed. "Are you moved? Then why aren't you moving? 1,000 points, that was comparable to a sect's top mission reward. As far as the three of them were concerned, they would be able to enter the ruins of immortality to train. However, the three of them did not move forward. Chu Qing said slightly, "Master, we are friends with him, friends should respect each other, and we should let him choose for himself." The old man stared in shock, then began to chuckle. "Ha ha ha. Who else? Who else? Brat, you really did it, ha ha ha." Yuan Tianwang was incomparably excited, with tears in the corners of his eyes. He tightly clenched his fists and said, "Let's see who dares to call the East Imperial City a trashland in the future." The higher-ups of the Factory Sect started to shake. The higher-ups of the Factory Sect started to shake. This was because Long Fei's record was extremely shocking. At the same time, the people in the plaza were also extremely shocked. Everyone watched as Long Fei walked down, step by step, as they looked up, as if they were all looking at a god. At this moment, in their eyes, Long Fei was an existence that was akin to a god. "Boss is so cool. I can't help but fall in love with him." Tan Depao's face was filled with excitement. Watching Long Fei walk down the heaven stairway step by step, he felt that Long Fei had become an incomparably tall man. Dazzling people don't give up their lives. This man was like the only bright star in the night sky, forever radiating with light. No one could stop him. Su suddenly smashed his fist on Tan Depao's head and said, "Damn, so many women are fighting with me for my man, but you, a man, are actually snatching it from me. You are courting death." Lan Mai pursed his lips into a smile, and said, Sesame, look at those girls around us, their eyes are shining, like a pack of hungry females. We really need to watch them a little more closely, if not who knows how many women he will have by his side. Susu shook his body, hands on his waist, then said loudly, all of you little demonis, listen up, he is my man, if anyone dares to touch my hands, I will chop them off. Very domineering, very social. At this moment, Prince of God's Eagle shrank his head, gloomily wanting to hide into the crowd. However, Long Fei walked down the sky stairway, and said softly, Prince of God's Eagle, where are you going? Prince of God's Eagle paused, revealing a fawning face. He said, Big brother, congratulations, you're too awesome, I have never seen anyone stronger than you. Several elders also walked up. There wasn't a trace of contempt and disdain on their faces. Their faces were full of respect, as though a grandson meeting his grandfather. They knew in their hearts that after today, Long Fei would be the same as them, one on the sky, one on the ground. As long as Long Fei said a few words above, they would not be able to finish their meal. If he didn't curry favor with them at this time, how could he possibly curry favor with them? Congratulations. You look extraordinary to me. Congratulations, this year's top scholar is none other than you. You are now the #1 person in Fatry sect. Awesome. I told you long ago that you would definitely be able to break the record and make history. The few clan elders flattered him consecutively, as if they wanted to lick Long Fei's shoes. Long Fei laughed blandly, it's also because the elders looked down on me and aroused the fighting spirit in my heart. In the end, I really have to thank all of you and everyone present. I'm so sorry to disappoint everyone. Good face. It doesn't exist. Are you mocking me? Do you think I'm giving you face? What the hell? Long Fei's words were just like a few slaps to the face. The elders' faces were a little ugly, but their faces were still respectful, and their bodies were slightly bent, not daring to straighten out. Because they no longer had any cards left. Long Fei was destined to become the focus of the Fatry sect's training, so they could only look up to him. He didn't dare to offend him. The Prince of God's Eagle said fiercely, Yes, we are wrong. We look down on people with our dog eyes, there are a lot of tall and powerful people like you, we will definitely not argue with you, right? He was completely impotent now. Even if he was related to the Fatry sect, even if some of the people in the Heavenly Eagle Empire were disciples of the Fatry sect, they couldn't compare to the person who broke the young sect master's record. His current identity could not even compare to Long Fei's. Long Fei smiled faintly, and said, You're right, a tall and powerful person like me will not quarrel with them, but as for you, I will definitely care about it. Now you've lost, get ready to eat your own shit. This is the first time I've seen you like special people and like to eat your own *T. Long Fei grinned. Prince of God's Eagle's face sank, and said, Brat, don't be too greedy, I have already given in, what more do you want? I am the Prince of the Heavenly Eagle Empire, you cannot afford to offend me. Long Fei grinned, I'm so sorry, I've never placed the Heavenly Eagle Empire in my eyes. If you don't eat your own *T today, you really won't be able to leave. Prince of God's Eagle's body trembled slightly, and he immediately asked, What do you want? This is the Fatry sect, do you dare to make a move? Long Fei laughed, Do I even need to fight against you? And then, an elder beside Long Fei said, Clan Elder, you have seen the bet just now, do you think he should keep his promise? The elder was excited and immediately replied, Of course, Prince, do you want to shit now? Prince of God's Eagle's eyes were trembling as he said, I have no *T to pull, I don't have *T. The elder directly said, Men, beat the shit out of his intestines and stuff it into his mouth. As soon as he finished speaking, the 4 Fatry sect disciples rushed out, and before Prince of God's Eagle could resist, they smashed his fist into their stomachs, causing them to roll in their stomachs, and the poop mixture immediately burst out. Following which, he grabbed the feces on his butt and stuffed it into his mouth. Prince of God's Eagle's face was pale. He wanted to resist, but he was powerless in front of the 4 disciples. That scene. It was unbearable to look at. Long Fei walked in front of Prince of God's Eagle and said, Don't act so arrogantly in front of me, otherwise, this daddy will toy you to death. It was extremely disdainful. Prince of God's Eagle couldn't even speak as he continued to nauseous and in an extremely sorry state. Tan Dapao laughed. Isn't that great? What dogs hit Prince, you can't even be considered an ant in front of my lord. Long Fei returned to Su Su and the others sighed. Yang Jin looked at Long Fei strangely. Long Fei said, don't look at me with that kind of expression, I'm not gay. Tan Dapao also shouted, Goldfur, even if boss is to be the foundation, it won't be your turn. I'll be the first one to go. Yang Jin gave a cheap smile and said, Boss Long, how did you do that? Long Fei said, just like that. Yang Jin said, this year's top scholar is none other than you, to be able to directly enter the Holy Abyss ruins to cultivate, I wonder who you will be studying under. Each of the 8 peaks of immortal destiny had a different specialty, just like the various departments in the university. Regarding this matter, Long Fei had really not considered this. However, there was no need for him to think about it. Someone had already decided on his behalf. Horcrux's Hill. Xiong Hailian's courtyard, the door was tightly shut. Xiong Hailian bowed and stood behind a man. The man was none other than young sect master Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan said coldly, I don't like that brat, so I don't want him to live in this world. Xiong Hailian was secretly delighted and immediately said, I know what to do. Zhu Yuan replied, don't worry, I will get father to pass that brat to you. Failing the examination, drag it out. Failing the examination, drag it out. When the last ranker was dragged down the ladder question of God, the new disciple exam of Fatri sect came to an end. He would pass the examination if he took 100 steps. However, there weren't many who could make it up to 100 steps, only 1,000 or so people out of the tens of thousands of people. Furthermore, most of the people were stuck between 1 and 200 steps. Only a very small number of people could break through 1,000. However, compared to before, this year's results were not considered bad. Moreover, Long Fei's result had broken all the records, and he had used less than half the time compared to the historical records. Just this point was enough to shock the entire Fatri sect. The disciples that passed the examination, follow me to enter the Saints Hill Plaza. All of you will receive the appropriate rewards. Furthermore, there will also be elders that will come to pick you all. When the elders choose you, do your best to show your talent and your own will. The rest is up to you. An elder said seriously. Another elder walked up to Long Fei with a respectful gaze and said, those who have reached the 1,000 steps can enter the Saints' Temple and will be received by the sect master himself. Also, you will be selected by the Fatri sect, and similarly, you will have to display your talent and willingness. The Fatri sect is divided into 8 peaks, the Sword Peak, the Wu's Peak, the Powder Peak, the Peakshan, the Beast Hill, the Fufeng, and the Saints Hill that you will all be going to later. I hope all of you will choose carefully. A martial artist who could break through 1,000 steps was ranked in the top 100. There were special rewards. Furthermore, the sect master had personally received them and the elders of the heavenly sage realm from the elder of Inner House were selecting them as disciples. This was an opportunity for them to rise to the heavens in a single step. The elder looked at Long Fei, made an inviting gesture, and said, you are the top scholar, and right now, you will lead them to Saints Hill. Right now, everyone around was respectful to Long Fei. He didn't dare to have any disrespect. The current Long Fei was an existence they could not afford to offend. Long Fei walked forward, raised his head and looked at the immortal peak above him, and thought to himself, we have finally arrived. He remembered that the elder swordsman had specially instructed him to enter the Fatri sect. Now that he had successfully entered, who knows where the elder swordsman might be? Still in the East Imperial City? Or did he bring Xiao Bai and fire and ice to another place to cultivate? There must be a special reason why he wanted me to enter the Fatri sect. Which peak should I choose now? Long Fei muttered in his heart. He didn't think about which peak he would choose. Let's go up first. Long Fei said softly, let's go. Under his lead, the 1,000 disciples walked towards the Saints' Hill. Saints' Temple. The elders of the 8 peaks were gathered together. These people were all the top existences in the Fatri sect. Any one of the elders was an existence of the god's holy state. In just half an hour, this kid's talent is probably beyond my imagination. I must make him my last disciple. Not even after 10,000 years. Ladder question of God is one of the 10 great treasures of our Fatri sect. It tests the human heart and the various enticements we encounter in the martial arts training. Not to mention him, even we are unable to pass through it in such a short period of time. This guy is definitely not simple. Young sect master's talent is already very frightening. If another monstrous genius were to appear, our Fatri sect would definitely become even more powerful. In the Primordial 8 territory, our western regions is the weakest. We don't even have a single sovereign realm powerhouse. This time, we might be able to produce a sovereign powerhouse. Don't be too happy too early. You all forgot one important point, and that is, where did he come from? He is someone who came from the East Imperial City in the wasteland. Have you all forgotten about the matter of him searching for flowers all those years ago? Until now, he was still in the royal realm and could not even break through to the emperor realm. Who knows? Yes, the exam is a bit more fierce, but what about the average talent? The hall suddenly became silent. Obviously. They were a little afraid of what happened with Yuan Tianwang back then. No one seemed to be mocked. If he accepted a trash as his disciple, he would truly be mocked for the rest of his life. Just like Yuan Tianwang's master right now, he would not even dare to raise his head due to the laughter. This was related to his reputation. At his age, his reputation was extremely important. East Imperial City, the place where criminals were once imprisoned. That place is also known as the place of exile. Although it has evolved into a city now, in all these years, there hasn't been a single emperor strongman there. The land of trash is not empty either. It seems like we need to think more, and this year's new talents all came from the East Imperial City, so let's not talk about the top genius, the third place female Lan Mai, the one who cultivated the secret technique Su Su, and the one who used his willpower to rush up to the launcher. These people are all here. From East Imperial City. Perhaps. What about the East Imperial City's salvation? I don't care, I want whoever's the top scholar. Don't give it all to me, even if I'm mocked by others, I'm also willing. At this moment, the crazy wolf grinned and said, all of you shut up. That brat is mine, I've said it like that. If anyone wants to fight with me, don't blame me for being impolite. Amongst the 8 peaks, the crazy wolf was the only one with a peak owner. Because he felt that Long Fei was a born beast trainer. Even the roar of sky touching was scared of him. How could he let such a genius go? All of the elders shuddered. They were well aware of the temper of Crazy Wolf. Offending him. At that time, their mounts might suddenly mutate or even turn around and attack. This sort of thing had happened before. Although he was not the only beast trainer, he controlled most of the fairy beast in the Immortal Destiny Peak, and his beast control ability was extremely powerful. He was someone he could not afford to offend. The crazy wolf looked at the crowd and fell silent. Then she smiled and said, if you all give him to me today, each and every one of you here is one. I, Crazy Wolf, will owe you all a favor. Everyone's eyes lit up. Peak owner's favors could not be measured with money. Everyone was shocked. At this moment, Xiong Halian said faintly, owner of Beast Hill, your favors are indeed precious, but compared to a genius disciple, I will still choose the latter. I can only offend you. The crazy wolf stared at him. Damn, you're not giving me any face. Xiong Halian said, I'm so sorry. Xiong Halian, do you want to never have a mount again? Crazy Wolf's eyeballs seemed like they were about to pop out. Xiong Halian smiled slightly. It was also at this time. An elder standing outside the hall said, Elders, the sovereign is here. Mr. Celestial Zhu Daoren walked into the palace. There were 2 other people behind him. One of them was young sect master Zhu Yuan. The other was the Immortal Destiny Holy Maiden Shenyuan Li who was dressed in a white dress. When the Mr. Celestial sat down, he lightly said, call them in. Breaking the Fatri sect's record, Zhu Daoren wanted to see what kind of person they were. Breaking the Fatri sect's record, Zhu Daoren wanted to see what kind of person they were. Moreover, the one who set the record was his son, yet he broke his son's record. This made it even more important for him to get to know him better. When he knew that Zhu Yuan's record had been broken, and had only used half of the time, other than shock, there was also a trace of displeasure in his heart. Ladder question of God, one of the 10 great treasures. Understood that it would be extremely difficult to pass through it. To be able to break through the ladder question of God in half an hour, such a person would either be a peerless genius amongst geniuses, with the potential to become a great genius capable of breaking through the sovereign realm. Or, there was another possibility: cheating. Ladder question of God was a divine treasure that created illusions of desire within one's heart. However, if these illusions were all broken, it would be unable to test the human heart. 1,000 disciples stopped in the plaza outside the saint's temple. The top 100 disciples walked into the hall. Long Fei was at the forefront. The moment he walked into the great hall, Long Fei felt countless gazes sweeping over him instantaneously, like many instruments scanning him crazily. God's elephant state. He actually won the top scholar at such a level. Isn't this realm too low? Crazy Wolf was one of the few people in the hall who did not care about Long Fei's rank, and laughed. Brat, we meet again, ha ha ha. Long Fei smiled and replied politely. The person who was the most shocked in the hall was none other than Shenyuan Li, who was standing to the left of the Mr. Celestial. Her heart trembled slightly as she muttered to herself, how can it be him? Mr. Celestial looked at Long Fei, his gaze filled with an unimaginable power. It could be said. Without giving Long Fei time to react, the power instantly surged into Long Fei's body. At this moment, Long Fei stood in front of him as if he was naked. This kind of feeling made him feel a little uncomfortable, but he could not resist, because any elder here could crush him like an ant. Even Long Fei would be hard to deal with in front of the Emperor Strongman, let alone the super powerhouse of the god's holy state. Moreover, seated on the high seat was Zhu Daoren, sect master of Fatri Sec. His cultivation had even broken through the god's holy state. Overlord level. As long as the idea slightly moved while he was still in Long Fei's body, perhaps Long Fei would not be able to survive. He felt displeased. However, he could only hold it in because of his strength. Because of the level. Long Fei subconsciously clenched his fists. Zhu Daoren could instantly feel the unwillingness in Long Fei's heart. The idea withdrew slightly, and said indifferently, "You don't seem to be happy." Long Fei did not try to hide it and said, "If you were to be sensed by a group of people using idea S as if you were naked while standing here, you would also be unhappy." Zhu Daoren was startled, then laughed. "This is because we are curious about you, and also want to know everything about your potential, talent, and blood vein." Long Fei said, "Curiosity cannot infringe upon one's privacy, right?" Zhu Daoren said, "You're right, I apologize for what I did." Large was shocked. The sect master actually apologized to a newbie. All the rookies in the hall were secretly surprised, but at the same time, they admired him even more. Zhu Yuan suddenly said, "Father, why must you apologize to such a person?" His eyes looked at Long Fei, and said, "Aren't you just a newcomer top scholar? What was there to be proud of? How dare you speak to the sect master like that? Are you not taking yourself seriously?" Shenyuan Li said softly, "By doing this, sect master can more clearly see sect master's broad-mindedness, and will cause even more people to respect and admire him." She was speaking up for Long Fei. Zhu Yuan's gaze darkened slightly and he became even more unhappy. "Our Fatri sect has been established for thousands of years, but there has never been a newbie who dares to speak to the sect master like that. To put it nicely, he's just acting recklessly. Indeed, he doesn't put the Fatri sect in his eyes at all. Someone who thinks he doesn't know the limits of the heavens doesn't have the qualifications to enter the Fatri sect." A big *T bowl was directly on Long Fei's head. He still held on tightly, not giving Long Fei the slightest chance to defend himself. Tan Dapao was displeased. "Why are you so reckless? How could he not put the Fatri sect in his eyes? Isn't it making a big fuss over nothing? And this senior brother, my lord, has no place to offend you, right? From the very start, you've been targeting us. Did my boss only use half of his time to break your record? Records are just for breaking. If my boss hadn't given me face, not to mention half the time, I'm afraid 10 minutes would have been enough. Was not happy when there was someone who wanted to take revenge on him. He didn't care who the other party was, he was going to say it out of annoyance. Zhu Yuan's face sank, laughed coldly, and said, "Aim at him? Is he qualified for me to target him? God's elephant state, an existence akin to trash, what qualifications does this kind of scum have for me to target it? In my eyes, he's not even comparable to a bug." His eyes were filled with disdain. Zhu Daoren coughed lightly. Su Su was also in a bad mood, and said, "Someone that can't even compare to a smelly bug has already broken your record, and can even crush you to death." Humph. After saying that, he didn't forget to sneer. Lan Mai said, "The person who broke your record is trash, then wouldn't you be worse than trash?" A verbal battle. If it was a battle, then Zhu Yuan had already pierced through 100 holes. They are. No one could ever say that Long Fei was not like that. No matter who the other party was, as long as they were unhappy, they would take it on. Zhu Yuan's face became even uglier. Shenyuan Li also said slightly, "Senior brother, pay attention to your words." Hearing Shenyuan Li's words, Zhu Yuan became even more furious in his heart, and said solemnly, "If the god's elephant state is not trash, then what is? Trash, can you take 3 of my moves? If you can take 3 of my moves, that would prove that you're not trash." Long Fei laughed, and said, "Why do I need to receive 3 moves from you? Do I need to prove anything? If I'm a piece of trash, then everyone that's doing." Long Fei did not finish his words. He had to hold it in. Zhu Yuan laughed, and said, "You coward, if you don't dare, then just say it directly. It's just you." Cough, cough. Zhu Daoren let out a heavy cough, and immediately suppressed his voice. He then laughed, and did not let Zhu Yuan continue speaking, and said, "All right, stop chatting, now please introduce yourself. This is something every top scholar has done over the years." Long Fei did not hesitate, he stepped forward and cupped his fists, saying, "My surname is Long, my name is Fei, I do not come from East Imperial City, but from the lower realms." Without waiting for Long Fei to finish, Shenyuan Li was startled. He couldn't even stand steadily and said with excitement, What did you say your name was?" He had been waiting all his life. He had been waiting all his life. From the moment she flew into the universal realm, she had been waiting. 100 years of waiting, 100 years of guarding, it was all for meeting again. She thought that she would never see Long Fei again. She often thought she had given up. After entering the meditation peak, he focused on cultivating the Tranquil Heart Sutra to calm down his heart. When she heard the 2 words Long Fei, her calm heart immediately rippled. She knew that she never forgot. He always remembered the man who had sacrificed for him. Shenyuan Li suddenly interrupted Long Fei, causing everyone in the hall to look at her. Zhu Yuan was also startled, his eyes stared straight at Shenyuan Li without moving. In the entire Saint's Temple, the most nervous person was not Zhu Yuan nor the surrounding elders, but rather Mr. Celestial. He knew a few things about Shenyuan Li. He knew she was waiting for someone. She was interrupted in such a panicked manner just now. Could it be that the brat in front of her was the one she was waiting for? If that was the case, then their agreement would be void, and Zhu Yuan would not be able to pass his devil tribulation. Zhu Daoren's pupils contracted, as though he was staring at his prey. Long Fei was also slightly taken aback. Su Su muttered, and said, "Did you do something to her? Have you provoked one?" Long Fei shrugged his shoulders, and said, "No, I've only met her once, I don't even know her." Shenyuan Li did not care about the look in Zhu Daoren's and the surrounding elders' eyes. With an excited expression, he asked once again, "What are you called?" Long Fei said, "Long Fei, what's wrong?" Shenyuan Li asked, "Is it the Long Fei who is flying dragons in the sky?" Long Fei paused for a moment, then said, "That's right. Poochie." Shenyuan Li suddenly burst into tears. Seeing Long Fei's uncontrollable tears flowing out, the entire hall panicked. The saintess of immortal destiny, of the meditation peak. And she's even the young sect master's fiancé, someone that the Mr. Celestial values the most. I've never cried, but... He was already on the verge of tears. Isn't this too unbelievable? Immediately, Zhu Yuan clenched his teeth tightly and his figure moved. Buzz. His eyes turned sinister as he stared at Long Fei and said loudly, I don't care who you are, but if you make Sister Li cry, then you will die. While he was speaking, the pressure of the god's holy state pounced on him like a ferocious beast. A palm struck towards Long Fei's chest. His speed was extremely fast. This time, Zhu Daoren did not stop him, but instead, revealed a secretly happy expression. If Long Fei was hacked to death with just one palm from Zhu Yuan, then there would be nothing else. He didn't have to worry about that anymore. However, right at this moment, the crazy wolf moved. The beast's might was like a mountain, directly blocking Zhu Yuan's pressure, straightened its body, and landed in front of Long Fei with a heavy sound, beast armor. Buzz. A substantial aura of a tortoise-shell armor landed on his body and took the palm strike head-on. Rumble, Saint's temple shook violently. Zhu Yuan retreated half a step. You dare block me? The body of the crazy wolf was also faintly rolling as it said, Young sect master, it would be better if you could clarify what you have to say. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. In that instant, he almost couldn't react in time. If it wasn't the crazy wolf, he would either be severely injured, or he was already dead. Zhong Xian's heart tightened. His heart was filled with dissatisfaction. His belief in becoming stronger became even more resolute. Shenyuan Li also immediately ran down and said, Senior brother, you can't kill him. Zhu Yuan clenched his fists so hard that they creaked loudly. Streaks of blood began to appear in his eyes. Zhu Daoren's expression shook, and immediately shouted out, Yuana, don't be reckless. A strand of power from his body surged into Zhu Yuan's body. With a heavy press of the overlord's strength, the devil will within Zhu Yuan's body was suppressed. He could feel that the devil in Zhu Yuan's heart was growing stronger. Tan Depao quickly walked to the left and right side of Long Fei. Susu took a few steps back. This was a tactic. A wet nurse must ensure her own safety in order to nurse others. Long Fei replied heavily, What do you mean? Shenyuan Li no longer bothered with Zhu Yuan. Instead, he walked in front of Long Fei, and directly grabbed onto Long Fei's hand in front of everyone, saying, Big brother Long Fei, you don't recognize me anymore? I am Shenyuan Li. It's the Shenyuan nationality's Li. Don't you know me from the God's Tower? His face was clear. Furthermore, it was a pity that the flowers were tinged with rain. Seeing them made one's heart ache. However, Long Fei's memory really did not exist in Long Fei's mind, there were no scenes at all, and furthermore, in this kind of situation, even if he really knew Shenyuan Li he would not recognize him. Once he admitted it, he would die, Shenyuan Li would die, and Tan Depao, Susu, Lan Mai, who was by his side, would also die. Long Fei did not dare think too much into it, and could not think too much either. He immediately pulled out his hands and said, I think you recognized the wrong person, I really do not know who you are. Shenyuan Li did not stop there, and said, I flew into the universal realm, and have waited for 100 years for you, do you really not recognize me? Big brother Long Fei, take a good look, I am Li. Long Fei took a small step back, and said, You are really mistaken. There are many people of the same surname in the world, and the one who I flew in was the Zhenwu continent. Looking at Shenyuan Li Long Fei thought of Fu Shishan, thought of Queen of Blood Moon, thought of Xiao Bai, thought of Ice and Fire. He believed it. He recognized Shenyuan Li but it was within his seal's memories. He couldn't admit it. Because he could already feel the killing intent from Zhu Daoren. Susu walked forward and said, I already said that I don't know him, could it be that you're relying on him? Although he is handsome, cold, arrogant, domineering, and has the charisma to make a woman unable to walk away without giving her a look, please behave yourself. There are a lot of people watching here. Shenyuan Li did not give up and said, Big brother Long Fei, do you really not remember me at all? Long Fei said, I really don't know you. If I knew you, I would have recognized you in the dark magic forest, don't you think? Zhu Daoren said softly, Long Fei, you really don't know her? She is from the lower planes like you. Why don't you think about it? Long Fei replied, Master Mr. Celestial, there's no need to think about it. I really do not know him. If I did, would I not have any memories? As Long Fei was speaking, Ju Daren's idea moved. She was monitoring Long Fei like a liar. I'm not lying. Ju Daren's heart relaxed slightly as he looked at Shenyuan Li and said, what he said is right. There are many people in this world who share the same surname and name, so you should have recognized the wrong person. Shenyuan Li looked at Long Fei seriously. Indeed. Long Fei's change. It was completely different from before. However, her intuition told her that the Long Fei in front of her was the Long Fei she was waiting for. She couldn't be wrong. A woman's intuition. A woman's intuition. Sixth sense. Shenyuan Li had already determined that the Long Fei in front of her was the Long Fei she was going to wait for, but Long Fei not knowing her made her heart ache slightly. Pain began to spread from her heart. 2 streams of tears flowed from his eyes as he mumbled, Am I really mistaken? Long Fei said, I'm really sorry. Looking at the tears on Shenyuan Li's face, Long Fei's heart also started to ache inexplicably, as if he should not have let the girl in front of him cry. However, at a time like this was all he could do. Otherwise, not to mention the extremely furious Ju Yuan, the murderous Ju Daoren, if Long Fei admitted to it, there would only be one consequences. Die. After a long time, Shenyuan Li calmed himself down, and slowly walked back to Ju Daren's side. With a calm expression, he said, I probably recognized the wrong person. She wasn't stupid. Because she was too excited, she became so. Now that she had calmed down, she had thought of many things in her heart. The killing intent on Ju Daren's body loosened slightly. With a light smile, he said, Holy Maiden, don't worry. My factory sect will do everything in our power to find the person you're waiting for. If you can't find it within the time limit. Shenyuan Li raised his eyes slightly, looked at Long Fei, and said indifferently, Mr. Celestial, I will keep my promise. Ju Daoren laughed, that's good. As the aura around his body loosened, many of the elders in the hall relaxed slightly as well. In that instant, everyone felt as if Mr. Celestial was about to make his move. After all, the Holy Maiden was his son's fiancée. If the Holy Maiden acknowledged Long Fei in front of him, he would really be looked down upon. Fortunately, the Holy Maiden had recognized the wrong person, otherwise it would have been awkward. Ju Daoren regained his composure, looked at Long Fei, and said, I didn't expect that the person who ascended from the lower planes to the universal realm must have suffered a lot, right? Long Fei said, pursuing the strongest is the goal of everyone in the martial arts training. Any kind of suffering will only make me more determined. Well said. Ju Daoren nodded his head to praise him, and said, pursuing the strongest is the goal of every single person in the martial arts training. What you said is too good, there is no end to the path of the martial arts training, and any further suffering will only make our heart firmer. I believe it. Long Fei, I think very highly of you. As soon as he finished speaking, Ju Daoren said slightly, this year's top scholar's reward is actually a single time of cultivation in the Holy Abyss ruins. For the disciples of the factory sect, this is an extremely rare cultivation journey. Holy Abyss ruins was a secret world. It was also because of the discovery by the ancestors of the factory sect that this secret world was able to create the factory sect in the immortal Abyss mountain range. In the legends, Holy Abyss ruins was a place for the immortals to cultivate. Long Fei said, thank you, Lord Mr. Celestial. Ju Daoren smiled faintly and said, this is what you deserve. I hope that you can continue on the road to the martial arts training in the future. All right. I won't say anything else. Now is the time for you to choose. Factory sect is one of the 7 great peaks. Choose one. The 7 peaks was a large part of the factory sect. Every peak had its own specialties. Sword Peak trained in the sword. Wu's Peak, practice martial arts. Powder Peak, alchemy. Long Fei didn't know what to choose, and he also didn't think about what to choose. However, without waiting for him to choose, Xiong Halian from the Horcruxes Hill walked out and said, Mr. Celestial, Do you still remember what you promised me? Zhu Daoren was startled, then laughed out loud. Elder Xiong, don't tell me you have taken a fancy to him since a long time ago. Xiong Halian nodded. I knew him when I was in Dark Magic Forest, and I didn't go too far away. As expected, he didn't disappoint me. Long Fei's eyes turned cold. Tan De Pao, Su Su, Lan Mai's expression changed as well. Tan De Pao could not endure it any longer, but his eyes indicated for him not to move. They were well aware that Xiong Halian was Zong Tianfeng's master. Moreover, since Xiong Halian was an elder of the Horcruxes Hill, then it also made sense why Zong Tianfeng had always wanted to obtain the refining fire on Long Fei's body. The crazy wolf immediately stepped forward and said, "That won't do, other people can, this kid can't, he is the top scholar, he has the right to choose, and also, if you had said that you had taken a fancy to him in the Dark Magic Forest, then I had already taken my eyes on him during the first stage of the examination. Is a natural-born beast trainer." Oh! Zhu Daoren trembled slightly, looked at Long Fei and said, "You can still control beasts?" The crazy wolf did not wait for Long Fei to speak, and said, "Of course not." With that, he gave Long Fei a meaningful look. Long Fei could only say, "Just a little." At this moment, the elder from Sword Peak also stood out and said, "I am not sure about Beast Master School, but I am clear about one thing, his weapon is a sword, just that point should be coming to our Sword Peak. Damn, your Sword Peak has so many disciples every year, have you ever thought about how my Wu's Peak feels? Little brat, come to my Powder Peak and make as many pills as you want. Yarrow Larrow Gooey, do you really need to do this? If you say that. Kid, I use the talisman in the Fu Feng as you please." All of a sudden, the entire hall was in an uproar. At this moment, Zhu Yuan said blandly, "Let me remind everyone that he not only comes from the lower plains, he also comes from the East Imperial City S of this trash land. In the entire factory sect, there's only one East Imperial City, you should know what kind of person he is now, right?" Zhu Yuan's bite of the word piece of trash ground was especially harsh. The expressions of the numerous elders also changed slightly. Many voices disappeared, no longer fiercely fighting. The crazy wolf said, "I do not care where he came from, since I have taken a fancy to him, even if he is not the top scholar, I have also taken a fancy to him. Mr. Celestial, my Beast Hill has never asked you for anyone, not to mention the top 10 disciples, I have not asked for anyone, for all these years." Me. Xiong Halian immediately said, "Mr. Celestial, you were the one who gave me the promise in front of so many people back then." Zhu Yuan also said, "Father, this matter is known throughout the entire factory sect, if you break your promise, I am afraid many people outside will laugh at you." The crazy wolf said, "In any case, we are still disciples of the factory sect, how can we go back on our words?" Ha ha ha. Zhu Daoren smiled faintly and said, "Crazy wolf, the elder Xiong that I promised first, other than this brat, everyone else can choose, right?" At this time, Shenyuan Liya said faintly, "Lord Mr. Celestial, the top scholar also has his own choice, why not ask him?" Zhu Daoren looked at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, where do you want to go?" Without waiting for Long Fei to speak, Zhu Yuan continued, "I heard that he is now the pavilion master of the Xianwu Pavilion. His specialty is artifact forging, so he should naturally be the Horcruxes Hill." Zhu Daoren immediately followed, "Since that's the case, then follow me to the Horcruxes Hill. I believe that the Horcruxes Hill is more suitable for your development." Long Fei did not refuse, and said, "All right." It wasn't that he didn't want to refuse, but he couldn't. It wasn't that he didn't want to refuse, but he couldn't. No matter how he chose, he would end up in Xiong Hailian's hands in the end. From their conversation with Zhu Yuan, it wasn't hard to tell that they had intentionally arranged for Long Fei to go to the Horcruxes Hill. Obviously, Zhu Yuan must have said something to Xiong Hailian. As for the Horcruxes Hill, it had also become an extremely dangerous place. Long Fei was not afraid of danger, since they had deliberately made such a plan, he might as well do it. "I don't know what will happen in the end." Seeing that Long Fei had agreed, the corner of Zhu Yuan's mouth curled into a complacent smile. Xiong Hailian also revealed a hint of pride, His fists could not help but secretly clench, and thought in his heart, "Finally, it's about to land in my hands." Tan Dapao's eyes became anxious. Su Su and Lan Mai immediately walked forward, grabbed Long Fei's arms and gently shook them, signaling for him not to agree. However, Long Fei only smiled slightly. There were some things that could not be avoided. Xiong Halian was like a mad dog who was about to bite him. The best way to make the dog let go of its mouth was kill him. If he couldn't avoid it, then he would go for it. Following that, the top 10 disciples were divided up one after another. Lan Mai went to the sword peak. Su Su went to the peak Shen. Tan Dapao was a little miserable. His result was ranked around 30, but he was the last to be taken away. The reason was simple: launcher. It was a profession that could not be mixed up in Universal Realm. On the surface, Tan Dapao did not seem to mind, but his heart was secretly tight. A short pause. Each of them led their disciples back. Long Fei also followed behind Xiong Halian. Walking out of the main hall, the crazy wolf was a little unwilling, and said, "Long Fei, in the future, when you have time, come and play with my Beast Hill." Xiong Halian said, "Owner of Beast Hill, you don't have to worry about my disciple. Go back and properly raise your fairy beast." While they were talking, Xiong Halian then summoned a fairy beast and said to Long Fei, "Let's go." He sat on the fairy beast. Long Fei politely smiled at the crazy wolf. Xiong Halian also jumped up. The crazy wolf moved, the fairy beast went berserk, its huge body suddenly shot into the sky, and flipped. Xiong Halian almost fell down. Long Fei was also very shocked. "Owner of Beast Hill," Xiong Halian said in a heavy voice. The crazy wolf laughed. "What are you so proud of? Do you believe that I will immediately make your fairy beast betray?" Long Fei was secretly shocked. This beast tamer is too powerful. Our idea could make a fairy beast go berserk. This factory sect is really a hidden dragon and crouching tiger. I wonder what is the purpose of this elder swordsman letting me into the factory sect. Sigh. I still don't know where the elder swordsman is. Long Fei muttered in his heart. When the fairy beast entered the clouds, it was like a world of immortals. Xiong Halian stood on top of the fairy beast's head with his hands behind his back, like a fairy. Seated on the back of the fairy beast, Long Fei looked at Xiong Halian's back and lightly said, "Elder Xiong, don't hold it in." The corner of Xiong Halian's mouth rose as he turned around to look at Long Fei. "You should call me Master now." Long Fei asked, "Master? I am truly sorry, but I do not have the habit of taking in disciples, so don't hide things from me anymore. You are Zong Tianfeng's master, and also an elder of the Horcruxes Hill." He didn't want to be long-winded. He went straight to the point. Xiong Halian stroked his beard and laughed faintly, saying, "Ha ha ha. Direct and straightforward. Since you're so straightforward, then I won't waste any more words. As long as you hand over the God's Design token, I can let you go. Listen up, I'm giving you a life." Releasing and sparing were two different things. The meaning was deeper. As expected, Long Fei was secretly shocked, and said, "How do you know it's a God's Design token?" Long Fei had never mentioned this to anyone. Logically speaking, Xiong Halian should not know. Xiong Halian smiled faintly, and said, "Rainbow refining fire. This kind of refining fire is exceptionally special. With your artifact forging abilities, even if you had an outstanding talent, it would be impossible for you to cultivate this kind of refining fire at your age." Long Fei said, "Even if it isn't mine, then how do you know it's from a God's Design token?" Xiong Halian said, "It's very simple, because your Xianwu Pavilion's pavilion master is Horcruxes Hill's peak owner. Do you really think that God's Design Attic's assessment factory sect will be given to a small weapons store? Do you think the Xianwu Pavilion is competent?" Long Fei was secretly shocked, and said, "Horcruxes Hill's peak owner is Grand Court? Then his." Xiong Halian said indifferently, "Don't worry, he hasn't come back since then. I've already told the outside world that the peak owner has gone on a search for a breakthrough. If he doesn't appear after a few years, no one will question him. Peak owner has brought you to participate in the God's Design Attic's assessment, but no one came back, including the people from God's Design Attic who died in the seal. Only you came back. So the refining fire that appeared in your body definitely came from a God's design token, and with your refining ability, it's impossible for you to win the test. There is only one answer: you stole the God's design token from the God's design Attic clan elder, and that is not important. The important thing is, if you give me the God's design token, you will live well. His eyes turned cold. He looked like he was about to eat Long Fei. He did not believe that Long Fei had passed the God's design Attic's examination. The God's design Attic's assessment could be said to be one of the hardest assessments in the entire universal realm. In the 9 realms of the Grand Mist realm, there were only 9 people who passed the examination every year at most. This level of difficulty was unprecedented. It wasn't even this difficult to become an outer disciple of the God's tribe. It was impossible for Long Fei to pass. Long Fei didn't ask too much and said, "What if I don't give it to you?" Xiong Halian said, "Several people will die every day in Factory Sect, even the top scholar may die. You are a smart person, I believe you will make an intelligent choice." As soon as he finished speaking, the aura from Xiong Halian's body faintly moved. At the same time, the fairy beast's flying speed increased, and its height rose as well. Long Fei only had God's elephant state. If he jumped down from such a high altitude, he would only be smashed into meat paste. Xiong Halian said, "I'll tell you one more thing, I want the refining fire, but there are people who want your life. As long as you hand over the refining fire and leave the Factory Sect, I believe that with your talent, you will be able to live a good life. Kid, hand over the God's design token." Long Fei said, "I am truly sorry, the God's design token are very important to me, I cannot give it to you." Xiong Halian's forehead turned sinister as he said, "You refuse a toast only to be punished." Long Fei smiled and said, "I don't like any kind of alcohol." Xiong Halian's eyes turned sinister as he said, "You really make me angry. I originally wanted to give you a way out, but you refused to appreciate my kindness. How can you do this? Then die." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiong Halian suddenly attacked, his hands moved. Buzz buzz buzz. Long Fei's entire body was covered in illusions. He moved incredibly quickly, as though he was being pounced on by a huge net. Long Fei moved between his brows, his body suddenly shot out, straight into the sky. Power of creation. There was no other choice. There was no other choice. It was impossible to hand over the God's design token. Once the God's design token is handed over, it would be impossible to rebuild the Sword of the Sky. Moreover, the Sky Sword spirit had saved him, and he must repay this kindness back. Even if he handed over the God's design token, Xiong Halian would not let him off. He had clearly said just now that someone from the Factory Sect wanted him dead, and Long Fei could even think of that person with his toes, Zhu Yuan. He didn't have any memories of Shenyuan Li in his mind, but his intuition told him that Shenyuan Li was extremely important to Zhu Daoren. It wasn't just his fiancée. Thinking about what the dark magic forest ancient devil tree had said, the sword intent Zhu Yuan cultivated was not the divine way, but the demonic way. Then he would be unable to guess that if Zhu Yuan wanted to purify the devil heart in his body, he would need the power from Shenyuan Li's body. I don't know. And Long Fei's appearance had messed up their chance. Thus, Long Fei must die. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If someone offends me, then I'm sorry. Long Fei was the kind of person who would not hesitate to sacrifice something, just like how he would instantly release his strongest big move, Destiny Beat, when he faced Chaos Lord, and this time was no exception. He was not Xiong Halian's match. He was completely unable to handle the cultivation of the god's holy state. The same goes for Genshulong's sword. The only power in his body that could kill the powerhouse was the power of attack. Without the slightest hesitation. With a move of the idea, it directly used the power of creation. Immediately, Long Fei's body seemed as though it was going to explode. The clouds in all directions rolled and swirled around him, and before long, a huge energy whirlpool appeared on Long Fei's body. Xiong Halian frowned. What is that power? Fear grew in his heart. He had never seen this kind of power before. It was like a power that was above the world, a power that had never appeared in the universal realm. Long Fei grinned and said, I will take your life's power. Kill. Xiong Hailian's eyes turned sinister as he said solemnly, "You dog, you think too much of yourself. You are just a mere god's elephant state. No matter how strong you are, you can't escape from your original body." Fairy beast. Roar. The fairy beast roared. Xiong Hailian brandished his sword. The sword image covered the sky. Facing the force of the vortex, Long Fei slashed heavily and shouted out, "Die." Long Fei said, "The one who died was you." Rumble. 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 The sky exploded, and the two forces clashed. Not even half a second later, a gigantic vortex of energy engulfed both and fairy beast. Not only that, the entire world was shaking. It was as if the sky was going to split open. Unstoppable. The entire western regions trembled slightly. The universal realm also began to emit huge undulations. God's tribe, shrine. Emperor Xian opened his eyes slightly. His gaze was sinister as usual. This fluctuation of power. The power of creation? Impossible. It's impossible for the power of creation to appear in the universal realm. Even the ancient world would find it difficult to reproduce the power of creation. Could it be that I made a mistake? At this moment, an elder quickly entered the Emperor Xian palace and anxiously said, "The energy wave came from the universal realm's western regions." The Emperor Xian said slightly, "Send someone to investigate and check carefully for me to see who released this power. We must find it for me. This power is not too strong. This person's cultivation must not be that high. It should be inside some young man's body. Let Grand Court Ling Tian handle this matter." The old man quickly said, "Understood." Power of creation? Somewhere. A plane that was like a dead planet. A lady wearing a veil looked at the distant universal realm. The power of destiny has appeared. Looks like God's tribe is not far from its demise. I have to go back too. The veil fluttered, revealing a peerless face. Just as the lady was about to take a step forward, a black shadow landed and said, "Madam, the young lord has not been found yet. If you go back now, God's tribe will only be suspicious." "I can't wait." The woman's eyes flashed. The black shadow said, "You can't wait, so you have to wait. God's tribe is too powerful now, even if you go back and find the young master, but do you think that when you return to the God's tribe, the first thing you will do is not to find you? When you appear, the God's tribe will become even more suspicious. We couldn't find it, and the God's tribe also couldn't find it. It's still safe. Don't worry, we will definitely find the young master before the God's tribe." The woman stopped. Her eyes were somewhat moist as she muttered, "Xiao Fei, mother really misses you too much." Dragon Abyss Dungeon. Long Zhanting laughed out wildly. "Long Wutian, did you sense it? Power of creation." The power of creation appeared in the universal realm. Ha ha ha. This is the first power of creation nurtured in ancient world. Do you know what this means? This means that the God's tribe is about to reach its end. You're still a dog for the God's tribe. Ha ha ha. He was excited. Laughing wildly. He did not know who had released this force of creation, but this was a signal. It should be a turning point, an opportunity that was enough to make God's tribe tremble. Rumble. Rumble. Rumble, ancient world. In the primal chaos. The seven gods' tribes towered in the sky, as though they were the sky that supported the ancient world. Suddenly, a heaven pillar began to crack, as if the world was collapsing. Sword light shot up into the sky, billions of sword chi burst out from the heaven pillar. Flashing. It was like 10,000 stars. Boom. The heaven pillar collapsed and a beautiful figure flew out from within the heaven pillar. Sword Force King Kong. Oya. He was dressed in fine clothing and held a thin long sword in his hand. A vortex of sword currents swirled around him, as if he was carrying a world of sword intent with him. Aoya hugged her hands and said, "Everyone, I will be leaving first." As soon as he finished speaking, Aoya's figure moved. The sword flow on her body transformed into a stream of air, directly pulling her body away and disappearing in an instant. "Sister-in-law, don't go so fast. I still have something to say to boss." Eldest sister-in-law. Aya, leaving in such a hurry. "Tianling, don't worry, you're almost there. Let's all put some oil in. When the time comes, we'll all go back to boss." At that time, I want to see who can touch boss's hair. Lousy will be the first to beat him back into the womb. Don't talk, make the best use of your time to cultivate. Zone connecting to the western regions. A half-naked man with muscles as hard as steel kicked a big bald man, his entire body emitting an incomparably domineering aura. He looked into the distance, sensing the explosion of the power of destiny just now. He laughed innocently in excitement. Boss, you are indeed in western regions. Hey. I'm coming. Wait for me. Seong-Halian and his fairy beast were sucked into the energy whirlpool together, and like a meat grinder, they instantly turned into fine powder. Seong-Halian and his fairy beast were sucked into the energy whirlpool together, and like a meat grinder, they instantly turned into fine powder. 2 system notifications sounded out. Nothing good dropped. However, Long Fei's level increased again. Level 9 Celestial Phenomenon Realm. Huff. It's still too low. Long Fei's breakthrough speed could be said to be extremely fast, and the advantages of the game system were vividly displayed. It was still not enough for his current situation. Even if it was the outer sect disciples of Factory Sect S, they were still stronger than him, let alone the inner sect disciples. Adding on the heavenly sacred border powerhouse of the Factory Sect S, Long Fei's level was too low in front of them. If he did not have special power, the Emperor Realm powerhouse would be able to easily crush him. What realm is Zhu Yuan in? God's holy state. There was also the Great Way of the Gods, where that sword strike unleashed an earth-shattering attack that Long Fei had seen before. I'm still too weak. Too weak, too weak. Long Fei's heart tensed up. I need to find a place to level up. But Long Fei looked at his leveling up experience. Breaking through to the Great Sage Realm required close to 400 million experience. It's too huge. Even in the Zhenwu world, this kind of experience is at the top. I'm only in the intermediate stage. How much experience would it take to reach the Great Jizuan Realm? It was hard to imagine. With too much experience, ordinary monsters wouldn't be able to satisfy Long Fei's leveling needs. Even the demon beast in the swamps found it hard to satisfy. If one wanted to break through quickly, they had to find the secret world who had a lot of experience. Huff. Long Fei moved, summoning his dragon sword. It moved. Riding on the sword, he quickly landed on the ground. The height was too high and the Zhenshulong sword could not support it for long. Long Fei could only choose to land as soon as possible. This was no longer the territory of the mountain peaks of immortal destiny. If Seong-Halian wanted to kill Long Fei, he would definitely not kill a newcomer in the Factory Sect's territory. If news of this got out, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Landing on the ground, the dragon sword withdrew. The surroundings were a dense forest. It was as dark as night. From afar, the sounds of various wild animals could be heard from time to time. Long Fei looked in the direction of the Factory Sect and muttered, I probably won't be able to go back in a while. There's no use in going back. If he knew that Long Fei was still alive, Zhu Yuan would definitely attack him again. Now that Long Fei had used the power of creation in his attack, it was equivalent to him losing the support of a big move. He was not Zhu Yuan's match, and furthermore, behind Zhu Yuan was Mr. Celestial Zhu Daoren. Long Fei couldn't even tell the sect master of the Factory Sect's level. Even if he used the system to check it, it would be the same. The difference in level was too great. In the Saint's Temple, he felt that Zhu Daoren, just an idea, would be able to crush him. If he went back, it would basically be suicide. Moreover, he would definitely implicate Tan De Pao and the others when he returned. On the contrary, if he did not return, Su Su and the others would be safer. After all, he was the target of Zhu Yuan and the others, so he did not put the 3 of them in his eyes. Huff. Where are we going? Long Fei muttered. At this moment, the sound of leaves being crushed could be heard from his surroundings. It was very soft, but Long Fei could still clearly feel it. He pretended not to know as he leaned against a tree and closed his eyes to rest. Suddenly, a javelin shot out from the forest. Whoosh. The tip of the javelin carried the sound of wind breaking, and the shape of the javelin made Long Fei think of a weapon used by a game character in his previous life. The javelin in the leopard girl's hand. Without thinking too much, his body moved slightly and dodged a shot. The next second, the javelins shot from all directions in the dark forest, forming a javelin formation that sealed off all 360 degrees from Long Fei. The javelin formation? 360 degrees without a blind spot? Rub. Long Fei secretly cursed, and then the idea moved. Dragon sword. Rumble. The dragon sword moved in midair and a round sword chi shot out. Ping ping pang pang pang. The javelin broke and fell to the ground. The people in the forest were slightly shocked, as if the dragon sword's power was shocked. However, in the next second, they began to organize another attack. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, another dozen javelins shot out. The dragon sword swept again. Long Fei locked onto a spot and with a move between his brows, the speed of his snapshot step erupted with all the power of the 9th level of Celestial Phenomenon Ascendant, directly rushing towards that spot. Bam! A palm struck a person in the chest. Soft. It was extremely flexible. Long Fei was startled. Woman? He felt that he was hit by a woman just now. Seeing that it was a woman who was not far away and was wearing a beast skin and a feathered hat, with a face painted with camouflage, Long Fei stepped forward and asked, "Why did you sneak attack me?" At this moment, the surrounding people quickly surrounded him. They were all carrying javelins on their backs and pointing them at Long Fei. Their entire bodies were smeared with dark mud. If they didn't sense their presence, they wouldn't have been able to sense their presence in this darkness. The injured woman was helped to her feet, looked at Long Fei, then stared at the dragon sword that was floating beside Long Fei, and immediately retreated, saying, "I'm sorry, master." Finished. The woman let out a cry and the surrounding people quickly retreated. His speed was extremely fast. In addition to their camouflage, their figures flickered a few times in the dark forest before disappearing. Long Fei originally wanted to chase after her, but he gave up after thinking about it. After all, they didn't hurt him, so he ended up hurting a woman instead. And then again. There were no gashes on the top of their heads. This meant that they might not even have the experience to kill them. Towards this kind of situation, Long Fei was too lazy to move. "Native," Long Fei said softly. From their eyes just now, he could tell that they were hunting, not wild beasts, but humans. "Forget it. I'm still too lazy to think about it. I think it's better to think about where to go to level up." Long Fei flipped open his Western region's map and searched for half an hour but to no avail. A little headache. Why is it so hard to find a place to level up? Long Fei complained. He opened up the system and checked, but could not find any good place. Sigh. In the game, every map has their coordinates, but in this place, you don't even know how to go there. Furthermore, the places on the map are basically all low-level places. Those high-level places are all Secret World S. If there is no entrance to these Secret World S, they won't be able to enter at all. Long Fei scratched his head, feeling very depressed. Unable to level up, unable to increase his strength. More importantly, he would not be able to activate the system's special reward without leveling up and killing monsters. This was very harmful to him. At this moment, the Azure Dragon ancestor slightly moved and took a deep breath, saying, "There is a secret world not far from here. Do you want to go take a look?" Long Fei was like grabbing onto a lifeline. Long Fei was like grabbing onto a lifeline. Secret world? Where? Go. Of course I'm going. I want to find the secret world to cultivate. Long Fei wanted to fly over immediately. He wished that he could find a place to level up the most. The god's elephant state in Factory Sect was too little. He was worried. It was not even enough for Ju Yuan to crush him with one finger. The Azure Dragon ancestor said slightly, "I felt a strange energy fluctuation on a cliff in the east. According to my experience, it should be the entrance to a secret world. Every plane had many special places. It was like a black hole. It can be said that the universal realm was the first plane that was born in the ancient world. It was a very perfect and balanced plane, but during the times when the universal realm was being nurtured, many cases of invasion from other realms had occurred. There had been countless disturbances, wars, various types of formations used by the powerhouse, and the cave dwelling had all been covered up. It was possible for one to become a secret world through the transformation of time. There were many secret worlds in the universal realm. These secret worlds either had nothing, and lacked true spirit, which was not suitable for cultivation. Or, however, demon beast ran rampant, and there were even creatures from other realms. Fatri sect was the most famous secret world among the western regions. It was so large that it seemed like an independent plane. Long Fei was overjoyed, and said, "You can still feel the existence of the secret world." The Azure Dragon Sacred Ancestral said, "Secret world is different from ordinary places. They emit strange energy waves that are irregular and very chaotic. If your cultivation were to rise up, you would be able to sense them." Awesome. Long Fei gave a thumbs up. "From now on, I will be relying on you." The Azure Dragon Sacred Ancestral said, "Don't hold too much hope either. Universal realm are as numerous as the clouds, many secret world have already been discovered. Moreover, not all secret world S are suitable for cultivation. There are also Deathland S who die the moment they step into secret world." Sacred Ancient warned. The secret world was like a human, with a good heart and a good heart. They also wanted a heinous Chinese person. Long Fei was also clear of this point, and said, "Amen, I will be careful." Finished. Long Fei headed east. Walking out of the forest, he immediately saw a perilous mountain that towered amidst the clouds. It was extremely tall, and was verdant and lush. Even if you can't enter, it's good to meditate and cultivate there. Now, Long Fei's normal practice mode could give him millions of experience points every day. At the bottom of the peak, there was a sunken valley. Within the valley, there were a few native tents. This place was like a paradise, but it didn't look like these aboriginals were living well. Broken scenes were everywhere, as if someone had just robbed them. When Long Fei walked out of the forest, he was immediately stared at by the two aboriginals, their long spears pointing straight at him. Long Fei said, "I have no ill intentions, I was just passing by. If you do not provoke me, I will not touch you, understand?" The two of them did not reply. When Long Fei walked into the valley, many people immediately surrounded him. Regardless of whether they were men, women, or children, all had weapons in their hands, and their eyes were filled with anger and hatred, as if Long Fei was their enemy. The lady who was injured by Long Fei's palm walked out, looked at Long Fei and said, "Master, I have already apologized for my actions." There was also a hint of anger in his words. Long Fei smiled faintly, and said, "I accept your apology. I was just passing by with no intention of harming anyone. If anyone wants to die, I'm willing to send them to the underworld." This was the truth. If anyone dared to touch him, Long Fei would not be courteous at all. The center of female chief's brows tightened as he asked, "May I know where sire is going?" Long Fei looked into the distance and said, "You don't need to know about this. Just make way for me." Female chief said, "If you are going to that mountain, I suggest you quickly turn around." Long Fei said softly, "Why do you turn back?" Female chief said, "Because that place is too dangerous. No one that went in has been able to come out alive. It's better that you leave quickly, otherwise you won't be able to leave later." The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up, and said, "I really don't have anything that I can't leave." The instant after Long Fei finished speaking, the great mountain was suddenly engulfed by a strong wind. Rumble. A dense black cloud came rolling in. It was like a monster appearing in a movie world. The dark cloud covered the entire valley. It was also at this time. The aboriginals in the valley scurried about. The children were so scared that they began to wail. The valley was a mess. "Protect the elderly and children. Everyone else follow me." A group of people followed the female chief and quickly went forward. Boom, boom, boom. Black fog bombarded down from the black clouds. Warriors wearing black armor, wearing black hats, and holding black scythes with traces of dark energy on their bodies, descended. The leader of the group had contempt in his eyes as he said coldly, "Lisa, how are the preparations going?" Female chief frowned and said, "You gave us 3 days, but we can't find those things at all. Can you find it?" The leader's eyes moved slightly, and the sickle in his hand moved in an instant. landing on the shoulder of an Aboriginal man. "Say that again." The Aboriginal man looked at the chief, his body secretly trembling. Female chief said, "Sir." As soon as the words left his mouth, the sickle moved and a head flew into the air, fresh blood gushing out from it. The black-armored man let out a dark sneer. In the distance, a woman tightly hugged a child. The child was shouting angrily, "Daddy, Daddy." The woman's tears flowed uncontrollably. The Aboriginal warrior tightly clenched both his hands, wishing that he could pounce on the black-armored leader and tear him to shreds. Their strength wasn't their opponent at all. The black-armored captain coldly said, "Can we find them all now?" The sickle moved. It directly rested on female chief's neck. Many of the native warriors rushed forward. However, the black-armored captain only coldly smiled without the slightest trace of fear. Female chief said solemnly, "Our strength is insufficient to do that. Even if you kill all of us, it is impossible. The more you kill, the more impossible it is." The black-armored captain sinisterly said, "Are you threatening me? Very good. Since you won't be able to complete it, you can just give it to me." His killing intent stirred. At this time, Long Fei said lightly, "That's enough." The leader raised his eyes and looked at Long Fei, who was at the back of the crowd. His eyes flashed with a cold light and he said, "Who the hell are you? You think you are qualified to talk to me?" Long Fei slowly walked forward and said again, "That's enough." The black-armored captain's eyes were full of anger. "Who are you? You dare to teach me a lesson?" The corner of Long Fei's mouth drew back, and said, "I'm someone you can't afford to offend. I'm someone you can't afford to offend. I'm someone you can't afford to offend." It was a very, very arrogant sentence. Moreover, Long Fei spoke calmly, which made him seem even more arrogant. "Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha." The black-armored captain laughed loudly. "Someone I can't afford to offend? Ha ha ha." The black-armored warrior behind him also started to laugh loudly. At this moment, the scythe in the black-armored leader's hand suddenly moved, and arrived in an instant, landing on Long Fei's neck, and said gloomily, "Even the elders of Fatri sect do not dare to say something like that in front of me. Who the hell are you? Arrogant in front of me? You are courting death." As soon as he finished, the black-armored leader's scythe moved, directly slashing towards Long Fei's neck. The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised as his right arm sank. "Catcher, catcher." The big master guard arm moved, and with a heavy clench of his right fist, he threw out a punch. Late arrival. A punch landed on the left side of the black-armored captain's face. Bam! The head flew out from the neck. 100 meters away, an enormous stone was smashed into countless pieces by the head of the black-armored captain. Blood gushed out. The black sickle was just half a centimeter away from Long Fei's neck, but even so, Long Fei wasn't afraid in the slightest, because he believed in his own strength. Clang! The scythe fell to the ground, half of its body swaying a few times before falling to the ground. The surrounding crowd was astonished. All of them wanted to stare at Long Fei as if he was a monster. The black-armored warrior also stood there dumbstruck. Long Fei said coldly, "I said before, I am someone you cannot afford to offend. Scram immediately." The black-armored warrior reacted and instantly ran into the mountains. As they were escaping, the dark clouds in the sky also retreated quickly. Long Fei looked at the black cloud and muttered, "You guys are still far from being able to act tough with me." Finished. Long Fei also did not think to stop, and directly headed towards the direction of the mountains. But right at this moment, plop! Female chief suddenly knelt in front of Long Fei and said, "Master, please save us." Female chief knelt down, and all of the surrounding clan members also knelt down quickly. In the entire clan, men, women, old, and children all knelt down, and said at the same time, "Lord, please save us." Long Fei was secretly surprised for a moment, then said, "I just killed their leader, and you guys should be safe now, so before they return, you guys can leave and find another place to rebuild your homes." Female chief said, "They took old chief away, and also, we cannot leave this place. We have to protect this place with our time. The black-armored head you killed is only a small leader. There are even more powerful people on the sacred mountain. We are no match for them, so please help us. Long Fei saw that the EXP he gained from killing the Black Armored Army's leader was only a few thousand. Compared to the hundreds of millions of experience points gained from leveling up, this was not even worth mentioning. Just when he wanted to refuse, the system beeped. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the quest. Mission: Save the Old Patriarch, Extinguish the Black Wind Stronghold. Level: S-Class. Time: 3 days. Reward: 1 million experience points, 100,000 true spiritual value points, a special reward. Obtained the trust and goodwill of the Black Wind clan. The task was triggered. This was different. Even if Long Fei wanted to refuse, he couldn't refuse now. Without even mentioning 10 million experience, what would be the system's special reward? Long Fei thought of the power of creation and became excited. With more power of creation, my factory sect will be safe. The idea moved. Accept. At the same time, Long Fei said, "Alright, I'll help you. Save your old patriarch, then chase that group of bandits out of here." Long Fei supported the female chief, saying, "Don't worry, I will do as I say." The female chief said solemnly, "Thank you, Master, thank you, Master." Only, "Lord, the Black Wind Stronghold's chief is extremely powerful. His cultivation has already reached the Emperor's realm. I'm afraid that you." Female chief was worried. The level of the Emperor's realm was indeed formidable. However, as long as it was not the god's holy state, Long Fei did not have to be too afraid. Moreover, he had the big Master Guard arm, so as long as he used it, it would be able to shatter the void. We'll talk about it later. It was just an Emperor realm little boss, there was no problem, but there was one thing that Long Fei couldn't understand: this kind of boss quest shouldn't even reach the standard of an S-class boss. Why is the quest rank S? This was rather strange. It was at this time that female chief spoke again. Black Wind Stronghold is a Emperor strongman. With his outstanding cultivation, he even has a Archmage behind him, which means that his cultivation is even stronger. It is Archmage's orders that we should gather 10,000 different kinds of demon beast's blood essence. How could he possibly gather 10,000 kinds of demon beast blood essence within 3 days? Archmage? So that's how it is. Long Fei secretly thought, if that's the case, then the S-grade mission will not be hard to explain. Difficult, that was the challenge. Ju Yuan was also a god's holy state. Even if Archmage's cultivation was not god's holy state, if he could control the Black Wind Stronghold Lord, then even if his cultivation was not god's holy state, he would not be able to check much. This was a very good challenge for Long Fei. Seeing the hidden lock between Long Fei's brows, the female chief was afraid that Long Fei would leave, so he took out something from the space ring in his hands and said, "Master, that Archmage cannot leave the holy mountain. He is extremely afraid of our tribe's sacred object." A statue's head. It was like a huge glove. The female chief said, "We are unable to get rid of the Archmage. If you can get close to him, using this sacred object would greatly reduce his power." Long Fei took the idea and opened up the attributes, checking it out. His pupils suddenly tightened. Damn, a holy artifact. Item: the holy item of Black Wind attributes, decreases target's attack by 30%. Description: possesses the defense of holy items. Just by reducing the attack power of the target by 30% was already an incredible feat, to say nothing of others. If a powerhouse of 100 levels lost 30% of their power, wouldn't that mean that they were only at level 70? Abnormal. Abnormal. If I could have it. Long Fei thought of the special item that the system rewarded him with in the past, downgrade spray. This was completely the same meaning as downgrade spray. The key point was, downgrade spray had a time limit, and could be used once. This was different. Long Fei was secretly excited in his heart, and said, "Alright, I'll definitely help you get rid of Black Wind Stronghold." Female chief said, "Thank you, thank you." They now unconditionally trusted Long Fei. If Long Fei took away their sacred object, they wouldn't have to worry, because if this sacred object were to leave this place, it would be useless. She did not mention this to Long Fei. However, female chief did not know what kind of person Long Fei was, and did not know how many almighty powerhouse he had. The azure dragon ancestor gave a faint sound and said, "This sacred item of yours is actually refined from the skull of the Black Wind ancestor. The item is not bad, but it has a restricted area of power, however. I have a way to make sure that he doesn't have a geographical limit." A 30% reduction in strength was not normal. A 30% reduction in strength was not normal. However, if it could only be used in a specific area, then the value of this item would not be as good as what Long Fei imagined. The azure dragon's sacred ancestral's words lit up Long Fei's eyes. If he could take this out, he wouldn't have to worry too much even if he met Zhu Yuan. Long Fei immediately asked, "What is it?" The azure dragon ancestor calmly said, "I need some special materials. These materials should be inside this mountain. You can go in first. If I see them, I'll tell you." "All right," Long Fei promised as he quickened his pace to enter the Black Wind Holy Mountain. "What did you say?" "Your leader was actually beheaded with a single punch." Black Wind Stronghold, Wan Xiong Hall. Seated on the high seat was an extremely tall and sturdy man clad in beast skin. There were many scars on his body, and his firm muscles looked as if they were about to pop out one by one. With a glare of his thick eyebrows, the few black-armored warriors that had returned immediately knelt on the ground and began to tremble. Black Wind Stronghold Chief, Chen Wanxiong. At the 4th level of the Emperor's realm, he was different from the other martial artists. From beginning to end, he had always been cultivating his strength, and his body was like a reservoir of energy. The burst of pure physical strength was unusually brutal. Chen Wanxiong looked unhappy, and asked, "Who is it?" "Lisa. Just a mere Turkish, their old chief is already locked up by us. Do you still dare to resist?" A black-armored warrior said immediately, "It's not a group of aboriginals, but an outsider." "An outsider? A meddling disciple of the Fatri sect?" The expression in Chen Wanxiong's eyes changed slightly as there was a hint of fear for the Fatri sect. After all, the Fatri sect was the strongest sect in the vicinity. Moreover, within the jurisdiction of the Fatri sect, as long as anyone made a request, they would set a mission for the disciples to complete. Fatri sect had a very good reputation in this generation. The black-armored disciple said, "I don't know about that, but that brat said that he doesn't care about the elders of the Fatri sect at all." "Oh." Chen Wanxiong was slightly shocked. There is only one possibility that dares to say such words. He is not someone from the Fatri sect. As long as he is not a disciple of the Fatri sect, then everything will be fine. Regardless of who he is, for him to dare to ruin my plans, let's see how he will deal with me then. Not waiting for him to finish, a disciple rushed in frantically and said, Stronghold Chief, something bad has happened. Something bad has happened. That person is charging in. What is it? What is it?" Chen Wanxiong shouted loudly. That disciple said, "There is a young man that has been killing his way up here. He's about to slaughter his way into the stronghold." Chen Wanxiong's eyes turned sinister, his eyes unleashed a strong killing intent. "Take my blade." The two black-armored warriors walked to the side of the main hall. The two of them used all their strength to lift the huge mountain-splitting Neef, and with each step they took, a deep footprint appeared on their feet. These two black-armored warriors were also God's elephant state S, and their strength had reached 100,000 kilograms, but, even so, they still felt that it was extremely difficult. "Humph! You dare to behave so atrociously in my territory? I'd like to see how many heads you have." Chen Wanxiong moved his right hand, easily lifting the mountain-splitting Neef up. The incomparably heavy mountain-splitting Neef in his hands felt light as if there was nothing there, and he let out a heavy shout, "Little ones, follow me and kill our way out." As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Wanxiong jumped down the steps, and the instant he landed, the ground shook slightly. The bandits quickly followed him. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Black Wind Stronghold's Little Luo for obtaining 1200 experience, 120 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Poor amount of experience. The only thing that was of use was universal value. However, Long Fei did not show mercy just because he had less experience. These bandits committed countless evil deeds, and each of them could be said to be unforgivable. One of them went up and killed him in an instant. The system beep continued to ring. Ding, ding, ding. These small fries would basically fall if Long Fei's heavy sword touched them. It was simply impossible for them to endure the sword intent of Long Fei's heavy sword. Azure Dragon, do you have any materials you need? Long Fei asked. The Azure Dragon ancestor shook his head and said, I haven't found it yet. Long Fei did not ask any more questions and continued to attack. Rumble. See you suddenly. A sound of explosion came from afar, followed by an imposing blade chi. It came crushing down along, bringing with it the pressure of the Emperor Strongman. A fierce gale swept out. The trees around him swayed. Buzz. The sound of a blade could be heard. Next. The blade tore through the air, and an incomparably thick energy rushed straight towards Long Fei's chest. Before the person appeared, the blade had already arrived. Strength followed. Long Fei lowered the center of his brows and the heavy sword moved, blocking right in front of his chest. When the power clashed with the heavy sword, it immediately produced an explosive sound. Long Fei retreated backwards in a hurry, the center of his right hand becoming slightly numb. Not waiting for him to stabilize himself, the heavy sword attacked. When the mountain-splitting knife stabbed onto the heavy sword was immediately pushed down on Long Fei's chest. Bam! With one foot pressing on the rock, Long Fei's body sank, barely managing to hold the mountain-splitting knife back. Whoosh! The mountain-splitting knife moved, and directly flew out. Chen Wanxiong flew out of the forest, one hand holding onto the flying mountain-splitting knife, and glanced at the pale Long Fei, coldly snorting. What kind of expert am I, to think I am just a waste of God's elephant state? Someone you can't afford to offend? Ha ha ha. How funny. Brat, I, Chen Wanxiong, am someone you cannot afford to offend. Chen Wanxiong said heavily. He did not place Long Fei in his eyes at all. He did not even need to look at a God's elephant state warrior. Kneel down and apologize to me. I will give you a complete corpse. The surrounding Black Wind Stronghold disciples also caught up. Seeing Long Fei's appearance, they all couldn't help but laugh out loud. The corner of Long Fei's mouth hooked up as he said indifferently, Where is your archmage? Chen Wanxiong's triangular eyes slightly sunk, and said coldly, You actually know of archmage? Looks like those Turkish people told you everything. Then forget it. There's no need for you to kneel and kowtow, just go to hell. As soon as the word dead fell, the mountain-splitting blade in Chen Wanxiong's hand moved, and the blade image became 10,000 times heavier as it struck towards Long Fei while blotting out the sky. Long Fei smiled faintly. He flipped again and said, Dragon sword. Buzz. The ear-piercing sound of the sword echoed out as it flew through the air. In an instant, the sword intent was like an illusion. One after another, the bandits from Black Wind Stronghold fell to the ground. In the blink of an eye, over 100 of his minions were killed. Finally, the Zhenshulong sword landed in front of Chen Wanxiong and pointed at his forehead. Chen Wanxiong also suddenly stopped, his body secretly shaking, and his eyes revealed fear. Long Fei said indifferently, Can you tell me where the archmage is now? Master of Black Wind Stronghold, 4th level of the Emperor Realm? Master of Black Wind Stronghold, 4th level of the Emperor Realm? This level wasn't even that of a small boss. He did not place Long Fei in his eyes at all, and Long Fei did not place him in his eyes at all. Being pointed at between the brows by a Zhenshulong sword, Chen Wanxiong's body instantly sank down, and he said, Who exactly are you? It was impossible for a God's elephant state warrior to have such a powerful divine treasure. The only possibility was that the Long Fei in front of him was very powerful. Long Fei said indifferently, I said before, I am someone you cannot offend. Speak. Where is the archmage? A.S. Class quest required one to match up to an S class boss. Otherwise, it would be too low-leveled. Obviously, the boss in this quest was the archmage that had yet to appear. Chen Wanxiong's eyes slightly tightened, and said, I don't know who you're talking about, But Blackwind Mountain doesn't have any archmage. Don't say it. Long Fei sneered. Buzz. The Genshulong sword moved suddenly, and directly pressed against the center of Chen Wanxiong's brows. Its skin ruptured, and a stream of blood flowed down from the center of his brows. Immediately, Chen Wanxiong's body started to tremble, and he said, I'll tell you, you should let go of this sword first. Long Fei said, Dragon sword. The dragon sword moved, and directly flew towards Chen Wanxiong. Chen Wanxiong was like a grasshopper on the chopping block, he could not escape at all. Chen Wanxiong panted heavily. He lifted his eyes slightly, moved his right hand, and a black ball appeared in his hand. With a heavy sound, he said, Escape. Boom. The black ball exploded. A ball of black fog floated up. Immediately, the aura around Chen Wanxiong immediately disappeared. Long Fei trembled inside as he quickly rushed forward, but F***CK. Awesome. Space escape technique? The Genshulong sword said, Master, this kind of escape technique is too low-leveled, it won't last long. I'll go chase him. Without waiting for Long Fei's reply, the Genshulong sword flew out. Long Fei did not stop them as well. Genshulong sword's senses were much stronger than his own. Furthermore, as long as the Genshulong sword could suppress Chen Wanxiong, there was no need for him to worry. Long Fei walked towards Blackwind Stronghold. The stronghold was just a normal stronghold, nothing special about it. He didn't have the materials that the Azure Dragon Sacred Ancient needed either. After searching back and forth, he didn't find any special traps. Long Fei sat on the stairs and waited for news from the Genshulong swordess. But they waited for an entire day, and even on the second day, the Genshulong sword still did not return. Huff. Ding. System notification. Experience points plus 499,2221 point. Long Fei exhaled a mouthful of impure qi, his eyes opened wide as he looked at the sky and muttered, This place is truly dense and dense true spirit. The thicker the true spirit, the more experience he would absorb from it. He was still a bit away from breaking through 5 million, which made Long Fei a little surprised. It was just that. A day's worth of normal training time was only an hour. Dragon sword. Long Fei moved. The Genshulong sword did not reply. It could not help but feel anxious inside as it felt that something had happened. Long Fei looked at the summit of Blackwind Mountain, then thought about the secret world that the Azure Dragon Sacred Ancestral spoke of, and thought to himself, could he have followed me into the secret world? He could not sense the existence of the dragon sword. There was only one possibility for such a situation to occur. It was too far away. Long Fei did not search for the Black Wind Archmage again. The mission was naturally important, but compared to the mission, the dragon sword was more important. Speed increased. Long Fei swiftly rushed to the peak of the Black Wind Holy Mountain. The higher he went, the thicker the true spirit became. However, the true spirit was dense but very chaotic, as if it was continuously being sucked in by a strong power, forming a chaotic vortex. Could it be that there's a spirit gathering formation here? The powerhouse required too many breath of true spirit to cultivate, and just absorbing them was not enough. In this case, it would need a spirit gathering formation. Instead, he used a formation to absorb it. It was very common for Sacred Mountain to have such a spirit gathering array, but the absorbed breath of true spirit did not flow into the array, but into the endless void. Long Fei did not understand this. Breath of true spirit flowed into the void. Why is that? Could it be that someone is cultivating in the void? Impossible, right? This went against common sense. Moreover, the space laws in the void were unstable. If one were to accidentally be struck by the power of law, then that would be an existence that would lose their soul. If it wasn't cultivation, then what could it be? The Azure Dragon Ancestor suddenly said, there is a top-grade material at the place where the true soul flows. Huh! Long Fei was startled, and said, Azure Dragon, do you know where you can enter that void? The Azure Dragon Sacred Ancestral said, there's a hidden formation here. If we break through it, we should be able to find the entrance. Formation? Long Fei looked around, there was nothing special about him, He was also familiar with array formations. He only trained in ancient array techniques, but he didn't notice the hidden formations around him at all. This could only mean that the person setting up the formation was extremely powerful. How do I break this formation? Long Fei asked. The Azure Dragon ancestor said, if you can't find the location of the array formation, then use the simplest method. Blood essence, your blood essence. Heh! Long Fei was secretly shocked. My blood essence is useful? The Azure Dragon ancestor said, you don't understand yourself. You don't know how strong your blood essence is. Alright. Long Fei did not waste any time. With a flick of his finger, he condensed a drop of blood essence. Long Fei used his own spirit and struck the ground heavily. Rumble. 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 The entire Black Wind Holy Mountain started to shake and the surrounding environment had undergone a drastic change. It was as if they had turned into a dark deathland. Even the rocks had been charred black. All living things in the world contained true spirit S, and it was just a matter of how much it was. However, there wasn't even a single bit of true spirit left in the surrounding plants, trees, and stones. All of it. This formation was a little too vicious. Even a spirit convergence array wouldn't be like this. When the formation activated, a gust of wind appeared at the edge of the cliff, causing all the surrounding true spirit to rush into the wind tunnel. The Azure Dragon ancestor said, that piece of high-quality material is in this void, which is also the entrance to the secret world. Long Fei stepped forward. Boom. He let out a series of strange laughter. I didn't expect a single drop of your blood essence to break my 10,000 desiccations formation. It seems like you have an incomparably strong power in your blood vein. It just so happens that I need this power right now. Come. Give me your blood essence. TSK TSK. His laughter was like the weeping of ghosts. A bone-like palm directly grabbed towards Long Fei, and a thick black cloud heavily rolled down from above Long Fei's head. 10,000 kowtows in the dark clouds roared. Long Fei's expression tightened, and the corner of his mouth hooked up. You want my blood essence? That will depend on whether you have the right to live. The idea sank. Killing sword. The idea moved, a small dagger flew out, straight towards Archmage, fast as lightning, unable to dodge, although it was not a big move, but a killing move. But the killing sword directly penetrated Archmage's body, causing no harm to his entire body, and no damage to float up above his head. This is bad. There was no doubt about the attack power of the killing sword. There was no doubt about the attack power of the killing sword. The power of the ancient inheritance. Now that he had cultivated to the Mahayana realm, even if the Emperor Strongman was hit by it, he would at least lose half his life. But, unexpectedly, nothing had happened. Not an entity. Long Fei immediately thought of this, but when the Archmage's skeletal hand falls, even if it isn't solid, it would still cause damage. There was no time to think. Snapshot step. With a huge change in speed, Long Fei quickly retreated. The idea moved. Aini Road, use your 1,000,000 volts of lightning to blast him. At this moment, Long Fei could not keep Aini Road's loyalty, whether he would betray him or not. If it was a spirit body, then the lightning attack would be its nemesis. Aini Road's face was filled with unwillingness to be summoned. Seeing the Archmage coming towards him, the power in his body surged, and the dense power of lightning descended from above. Rumble. It directly struck onto Archmage's body. No response. Not a single strand of hair fell off. Holy **T. Long Fei was secretly surprised. What's going on? Aini Road was also stunned. He did not regain his senses for a long time, but he was furious. He was extremely confident in his own lightning bolts, and there was no way that guy could withstand it. Of course. Except for one pervert. 10,000,000 volts, thunder bell, buzz. There was the sound of a thunderclap and the bell rang out. Thick bolts of lightning struck down heavily, enveloping the entire peak of Blackwind Mountain with thunder and lightning. However, even so, Archmage was still unharmed. An invincible existence. But, even if he hadn't dealt any damage, it shouldn't have been like this. There was only one result. It did not hit Archmage at all. Neither Amy Rhodes' lightning nor Long Fei's killing sword managed to hit the Archmage, but they could clearly see him being hit. What was going on? Amy Rhodes was about to go berserk, and he was extremely unhappy. Lightning furiously struck down. Long Fei slightly said, "Big brother, if that's impossible, then forget it, you should just go back. I know that you have already tried your best, right?" Amy Rhodes ignored Long Fei and started bombarding on his own. But, no matter how much strength he used, it was useless. There was no damage done at all. Not even a MSS appeared. However, what made Long Fei a little surprised was, ding, system notification, Amy Rhodes' loyalty level increased to 3 stars. It was a bit unexpected. At the same time, the seeds within One Piece began to sprout. Long Fei moved. "Mongoose, try using your Sharingan." Buzz. The incomparably cold weasel appeared in midair. Its eye pupils changed, and its kaleidoscope-like eyes caused the surrounding world to instantly turn blood red. His illusion attack also followed right after. But it was the same. None of the attacks were effective, not even the MIS. What the F***K? Is he so abnormal? What kind of person is he exactly? Long Fei's mind was a little numb, he really couldn't understand. No matter how strong an S-class quest boss was, it was impossible for it to be so perverted. No attacks are effective. Xiao Qian. Come. Let's see if he's a human or a ghost. Long Fei had no way. Nai Xiao Qian was a ghost lady out of all the female spirits. She could be considered a spirit body, and the spirit bodies should be the most familiar with each other. Nai Xiao Qian was summoned, and after pausing for a moment, he said, "He's not a ghost." That's weird. Long Fei was stunned. Initially, he had also wanted to summon Ache to give it a try, but it seemed that there was no longer any meaning. What went wrong? Long Fei's brain spun, sweeping through all of the attacks in front of him and behind, but he couldn't find any loopholes. At this moment, Archmage was abnormally excited. "What an unexpected harvest. I didn't expect you to be able to summon so many guys with strange powers. I need this power too much. Kid, do you have any other powers that you have yet to summon? Quick, quick, summon them all for me to experience." It was filled with mockery. Moreover, the Archmage also didn't attack Long Fei. Because he knew that Long Fei's attacks were useless against him. He was extremely pleased with himself. Archmage laughed. "With your low level of cultivation, you are nothing but trash in front of me, ha ha ha." He laughed wildly. Long Fei's heart was on fire, but he could not let it out. He kept thinking, there must be something wrong, there must be. Where is it? Long Fei looked around, but was still unable to find the place. Archmage continued to sneer, "You think you can save those Turkish people? You think you can beat trash like Chen Wanxiong is impressive, but you are nothing more than an ant in front of me. When my godly skills reach large success, even Fatry Sect's Mr. Celestial wouldn't be able to stop me, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha." Long Fei's eyes flashed, as if he had sensed something, and said, "What did you say just now?" Archmage said, "Saying that Fatry Sect's Mr. Celestial can't stop me." Long Fei replied, "It's not this sentence, the previous sentence." He was too lonely here, and finally came to challenge his person. He did not want to kill him so quickly, and furthermore, he was enjoying the process of Long Fei's despair, and said, "Saying you're not even comparable to an ant in front of me. That's not it either. One more sentence." The words in Long Fei's mind felt like they were about to come out. It was just a little bit short of the Archmage's reminder. Archmage laughed coldly and said, "That trash Chen Wanxiong." Without waiting for Archmage to finish speaking, Long Fei's eyes flashed with a bright light. "That's right. It's Chen Wanxiong." Ha ha ha. Long Fei suddenly burst out laughing. Archmage was a little displeased. "What are you laughing about?" Long Fei said, "Chen Wanxiong is indeed not very good, but his escaping technique is brilliant, his spatial escape technique, and you. Hee hee. The cultivation methods you use are also spatial type. This is not your physical body, but it is also your physical body. The key is, we are not in the same space. Although I don't know how you did it, but This one must be related to your secret world's divine treasure, right? Long Fei grinned. Archmage's face sunk. He stared at Long Fei and said, "You're very smart, but no matter how smart you are, it's useless, because you're going to die soon." "I die." The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he gently laughed, and said, "I'm afraid the one who's going to die is you." The idea moved. Long Fei's right arm sank. At this moment, the idea moved. Boom. The bit of primordial energy from the 100 points of universal value was fused into Long Fei's body, and he channeled all of his strength into his right arm. Big Master Guard arm. Crack, crack. With a series of sounds of forces colliding, Long Fei punched Archmage. Archmage laughed complacently. "Ha ha ha. It's useless. This trash won't be able to kill me." He punched out, piercing through the Archmage. Long Fei did not stop. He secretly laughed. "I didn't say I wanted to kill you. I blasted the wind tunnel behind you." Archmage's body was like a projection. Archmage's body was like a projection. It was just something that came from another dimension. However, the only thing that was different about its projection was that its power truly existed, and the feeling it gave Long Fei was that it existed in reality as well. However, as long as the wind tunnel was destroyed, all of this would be broken. Long Fei punched with all his strength, striking the wind tunnel. Archmage's forehead turned sinister. It was too late to stop it. He did not know that Long Fei would suddenly lock onto the cave and let out a mournful wail. "Ah! Rumble! Rumble!" A powerful energy exploded out, and the power of the Big Master Guard arm combined with the power of the Universal Soul directly covered the entire wind tunnel. It also sucked in the center of the vortex. At this moment, the wind tunnel seemed to be sealed off by Long Fei's powerful strength, as if it couldn't function properly, and started to create a series of cracks in the area around him. Creak, creak, creak. Archmage's figure suddenly disappeared. The projection disappeared, and Archmage's figure also disappeared. "As expected," Long Fei said in relief. "Just as I expected, this Archmage is proficient in using spatial attribute cultivation techniques. The ball Chen Wanxiong used to escape is a type of spatial escape technique. It should also have been created by him. If it wasn't for the fact that Chen Wanxiong really couldn't understand what was going on with Archmage's body. However, at this moment, roar, hualala. The sound of wind howling came out from the cave. "Brat, you think you can kill me just like that? You think too much. So what if you block the wind tunnel? If you continue like this, you'll only be able to hasten the pace of your own death." Ha ha ha. Laughter raged. The wind tunnel rumbled. The Archmage breath of true spirit condensed into a solid form and continuously released outwards. Streams of energy crazily revolved in the space around his body. It was as if a large machine was spinning. Boom, boom, boom. A thunderous sound rang out. Archmage shouted, "Inhale." Bam. Long Fei was instantly sucked in. He landed in a space that was like a cave. A series of explosions could be heard from the depths of the cave. The Azure Dragon Sacred Ancestral faintly said, "The secret world's entrance is inside." Without waiting for Long Fei to think any further, Archmage floated high up in the sky, coldly stared at Long Fei, his eyes filled with killing intent, and said, "Break my formation, destroy my wind tunnel, I want your life." Buzz. As soon as he exerted his strength, he completely crushed Long Fei. Archmage's skeletal hand directly locked onto Long Fei's head. The pressure was parallel. Long Fei's state of mind was instantly crushed, and his reaction became sluggish, as if his body was enduring several times the gravity. However, Long Fei was not afraid. He was afraid that the Archmage would escape, because that would be troublesome. There was a time limit on the mission, and it was already halfway through. If he didn't complete it by then, it would be a waste. In that instant, seeing Archmage's palm attack come at him, Long Fei looked around, then said, "There shouldn't be anyone else here, right?" Archmage laughed loudly. "Even if there is someone who can save you, no one else can." "Ha ha ha. Brat, give me your life." Zhong Xian's finger moved. The fingerless hand grabbed towards Long Fei's head as though it were a steel nail. Long Fei's eyes darkened, he took out the statue of the female chief from the space ring and said, "Open it for me." Buzz. The black wind statue seemed to release a boundary and it immediately covered the surrounding area. At this moment, Archmage's power and pressure had instantly decreased by 30%. Archmage's eyes turned cold, and he said solemnly, "The Black Wind Tribe's sacred weapon? I didn't expect you to have such a thing. However, so what? Even if my power gets weaker, it would still be more than enough to deal with trash like you, who is a god's elephant state." Indeed, even if the Archmage's cultivation decreased by 30%, dealing with an ordinary god's elephant state rancor would still be as easy as crushing an ant to death. However, is Long Fei a normal god's elephant state powerhouse? Weakening the release of spatial energy, Long Fei's lips curled as he said, "Enough? Heh. Then let's see how it works." Rot. Long Fei's right hand moved, and in that instant, his chest seemed to burn up, the power of the curse symbols emitting fluorescent light. It hurts. It was as if a red-hot iron was branded on his chest. The piercing pain made Long Fei grit his teeth. It was also at this time, when Archmage saw the curse rune on Long Fei's chest, his eyes sank even deeper. God's tribe's curse mark. You are someone that the God's tribe wants to kill. Ha ha ha. As long as I take your head off, I can obtain the power of an ancient inheritance. Ha ha ha. Brat, you really gave me benefits. The universal realm was not inferior to an inferior plane. Moreover, the powerhouse of the god's holy state could tell at a glance what the rune mark on Long Fei's chest was due to these emperor realms. Just by looking at the Archmage, he could tell that the rune on Long Fei's chest was that of a god's tribe curse mark. He was someone that the Emperor Xian of the god's tribe wanted to kill. No matter if he lived or died, as long as they handed him over to the god's tribe, they would receive a huge reward, and could even become a descendant of God's tribe. The God's tribe, the supreme existence of the universal realm. An absolute hegemon. Furthermore, Emperor Xian was the #1 powerhouse. The shrine was also the place with the densest breath of true spirit outside of the ancient world. Cultivating in it for one day was equivalent to cultivating outside for 10 years. Who doesn't want to enter the God's tribe, and enter the shrine? Archmage was the same. Looking at the curse mark on Long Fei's chest, he was even more excited than if he had seen a mountain of gold. He felt that this was a gift from heaven, and felt that his fate was about to come true. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Kid, you're mine now. Releasing all of his power, the Archmage clawed downwards. The corner of Long Fei's mouth rose, and said, "You're wrong, you're mine." His left hand moved. Boom. The god's tribes on his chest began to burn even more intensely, like a flame. Following his level increase, the antiphasic force of the god's tribes also became stronger. The purplish-black underworld fire moved. Right and left pincers. It exploded out. Ha ha ha. With this kind of power, not enough. Die. Archmage was proud. He had forgotten all about his pride. In his eyes, Long Fei was his welfare. He did not put Long Fei's strength in his eyes at all. Similarly, Long Fei was the same. The Archmage was but an experienced baby in his eyes. Boom. The two forces collided. Blood hung from the corner of Long Fei's mouth, his internal organs were at his chest, and there wasn't the slightest bit of health point on the top of his head. However, at that moment, he released the dragon god's transformation with 0 blood indestructible. In his mind, the spring of life healed him quickly. Archmage was slightly taken aback. He didn't die? Long Fei smiled faintly and said, "I'm not dead, but you're going to die. You're going to die soon." The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised into a smile. You're going to die soon. The corner of Long Fei's mouth raised into a smile. Because on one side of Archmage's body was the corrosion of the decaying power, and on the other side was the swallowing of the underworld fire. His body was already on fire. These could not explain anything. But crimson damage continued to float above his head. This proved everything. Normal fighters couldn't see it. But Long Fei had the system. Everything became data. He could see Archmage's head continuously losing blood, and that long line of health point was also continuously decreasing in number. 100,238, 98,322, 110203. The damage continued to superimpose, unceasingly overlapping. Long Fei did not defend against the previous exchange of attacks. However, he never thought that the Archmage would still have such a strong attack despite losing 30% of its power. If it wasn't for the fact that Long Fei had 0 blood won't die, he would already be dead. It was dangerous, but it was worth it. Archmage's health was about to hit rock bottom. Archmage looked to his left and right, his gaze downcast. Impossible, how could you possibly hurt me? You are just trash of the god's elephant state. He couldn't believe it. However, he did feel that his life was slipping away, and he could not control it. A black flame was burning on one side. At the side, the dead body beside him was quickly withering into powder. The Archmage panicked and anxiously said, "Master, save me, quickly, save me, I was wrong, save me, I don't want to die, I still don't want to die." Long Fei smiled faintly. Where did Chen Wanxiong go? Archmage looked into the depths of the cave and said, "I threw him inside. There's even a sword that followed him." Long Fei asked again, "Where are the Black Wind Clan's old chiefess?" Archmage said, "It's also inside. It's all inside. A secret world is inside. I've said everything. Can you save me now? Quick, quick." He couldn't hold on any longer. The loss of HP was too fast. He couldn't control it at all. Looking at the last sliver of blood on his head, Long Fei walked forward and laughed coldly. "You already know that I'm someone that the God's tribe is chasing after. Do you think I'll still save you?" Archmage's eyes turned sinister as he said, "Then you will die with me." A furious roar. Archmage ignored everything and rushed towards Long Fei. Long Fei stood in place without moving, only smiling slightly, and said, "Die." 102331. The last trace of blood on his head was gone, his health point had turned into 0, and at the same time, Archmage fell from the sky, his body turning into a pool of blood. Long Fei looked at his decayed body contemptuously. "This old one does not have confidence that I will walk in front of you. Stupid." Of course, after clearly seeing the health point above Archmage's head, Long Fei would step forward. Huff. Long Fei's heart calmed down as he said, "Explode." Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Black Wind Archmage, for obtaining 280,000 experience, 20,000 true spiritual value, and 1 universal value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining God's secret technique. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Purple Shen Crystal. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining. The system continuously sounded out a few notifications. Concealed Spirit. Damn, this should be the spatial attribute cultivation technique he practices, right? Long Fei looked at the description of the skill and smiled excitedly. Dig. Cultivating to the peak can create 10,000 hidden divine bodies. Isn't this a bit too abnormal? Cultivate. Long Fei ordered. When he turned to look at the purple Shen crystal, it was similar to an ordinary purple crystal. The only difference was that the purple Shen crystal had a few purple threads within it, and its existence was similar to that of blood threads. Very special. Long Fei muttered, "What is this?" The Azure Dragon's sacred ancestral said, "A piece of special crystal is one of the things I told you that can break the restrictions on the statue of Black Wind. There's no need for so much. I only need a tiny bit, but can you make the remaining materials for me to forge dragon armor?" Long Fei didn't think much of it and said, "All right. However, help me remove the forbidden Black Wind statue first." The Azure Dragon sacred ancestral said, "Fine. If not for it, Archmage's attack a moment ago would have been enough to kill Long Fei in an instant. Even with the Divine Dragon transformation skill, he wouldn't have been able to block it. If he could remove the Black Wind statue's taboo, that would be perfect. As for the reason, Long Fei did not think too much about the Azure Dragon sacred ancestor wanting to make dragon armor out of purple Shen crystal. He had already forgotten what had happened in the grave. The green dragon had been killed by the black and white. The green dragon in the space ring should not be that dragon. Even if that's the case, the black and white were still inside his body, and they could still crush him. Thus, Long Fei slowly relaxed from the Azure Dragon's sacred ancestor's heart. The Azure Dragon sacred ancestral said, "Just having purple Shen crystal is not enough, I need a few things, they should be in the secret world in front." Long Fei's eyes lit up, and immediately shouted, "Dragon sword." Immediately, Long Fei quickly rushed towards the secret world. In another place, the mountain range of immortal destiny, Holy Abyss ruins only opens once a year. You must seize this opportunity. Do you understand, Saints Hill? In a huge secret room below the Saints' Temple. Each and every one of them were God's holy powerhouse. From the moment they had protected this place, they could only stay here for the rest of their lives and could not leave. They were also known as the guardians of the secret sect. 18 elders were floating in the air and sitting cross-legged. They had no expression on their faces and did not pay any attention to the Fatri sect disciples in the secret room. An elder said, "To you, this is your first chance to become a disciples of secret sect. Also, we will soon be seeing Gathering of Heroes' myriad sects. Gathering of Heroes S. Mr. Celestial has received news that this time, Gathering of Heroes has placed special importance on the one who can obtain a good result. Perhaps God's tribe will set his eyes on you. You are all the youngest and most talented disciples of the Fatri sect. I hope that you can achieve a great breakthrough in your cultivation in the holy ruins. Do you understand?" Dozens of disciples in the secret room shouted in unison, "Understood." The elder continued, "When you enter the ruins, you must listen to the young sect master and the holy maiden's orders and must not act recklessly. There are great dangers in the ruins, and if you're a little bit careless, you won't be able to come back." Everyone looked at the holy maiden and young sect master. Ju Yuan's face revealed a proud smile. The holy maiden's eyes were very calm, without the slightest ripple. Actually, this time, she didn't want to come as a secret cultivator, but when she found out that most of the newcomers to Holy Abyss ruins were new this year, she agreed. Because she wanted to see Long Fei again. But Long Fei did not appear here. She felt a little down, but it was already impossible for her to leave at this time. Long Fei did not appear. She had an ominous premonition. As this year's Rookie King, Long Fei rewarded the Holy Abyss ruins with a chance to cultivate, but he did not appear. As this year's Rookie King, Long Fei rewarded the Holy Abyss ruins with a chance to cultivate, but he did not appear. Moreover, ever since Long Fei had left the Saints' Hill with Xiong Halian, there had been no news of him. According to past conventions, Xiong Halian should be unrestrainedly promoting Long Fei's various inherent skills, but he did not manage to get even a single bit of information out. Until now. Long Fei was not on the list this time, which made her even more worried. "Any other questions?" the elder asked. Everyone shook their heads. At this time, Lan Mai took a step forward and said, "Elder, may I ask why Long Fei did not enter the ruins of immortality to cultivate?" Su Su immediately added, "He is this year's top scholar. The sect master has promised to reward Holy Abyss ruins with an opportunity to cultivate." The two of them were also on the list for this secret training. Tan Depao did not come. What was unexpected was that Yang Jin, who did not have a good result in the newcomer assessment, also appeared in the crowd. Tan Depao did it because of his strength and his average talent. The most important thing was that he was a launcher, so there was no longer any room for him to use this profession. There was a very large distance between the peaks of the Conclave of Immortal Destiny and none of them had any news of Long Fei. They had originally thought that he would appear, but they did not. The elder did not speak. Ju Yuan said coldly, "All of you have been strictly selected, and just because they are not on the secret training list this time, it only means that they are not outstanding enough." The Holy Maiden lightly said, "How can a newcomer's top scholar not be outstanding?" Ju Yuan laughed. "That's hard to say. If he was outstanding enough, he wouldn't still be at the God's Elephant state. It can be said that his cultivation is not qualified to participate in the secret training." He sneered in his heart, "Only he wants to enter the Holy Abyss ruins? I'm afraid I've already reported this to Yama, ha ha ha. Young sect master is right, we are about the same age. His cultivation is indeed too low, so what if he becomes the top scorer?" The realm of cultivation represents everything. That's right, he might even have gotten his top scholar through cheating. The realm is the way of the king, and I heard that he came from East Imperial City. That trash place was specially made for trash. Didn't Factory Sect have a flower scout back then? It was from the East Imperial City. After so many years, the person who entered the Factory Sect with him had long since broken through the Emperor realm. It can be seen how much trash the people of the East Imperial City are. I heard that too. Only the elites can participate in this secret training. Is he qualified to participate? Many people agreed with him. They belittled Long Fei in various ways because they wanted to get closer to him. What was Zhu Yuan's identity? Young sect master of Factory Sect, and even more so, the #1 person in Factory Sect. It was fine to have a good relationship with him in the Factory Sect. It was clear that these words of belittling Long Fei were extremely enjoyable for him. He couldn't help but reveal a complacent smile. Su Su and Lan Mai wanted to explain. However, the elder did not give them the chance to speak and said, "All right, if we don't state on the list that his qualifications are insufficient, then let's not discuss anymore. Remember my words, if you encounter any problems in the secret world, you must listen to the young sect master's orders. Let's begin." While they were talking, the elders looked at the 18 elders that were floating in the air and bowed. "Defense Presbyter, you may begin." The eyes of the 18 people moved. A golden light burst out from their bodies, as the 18 gods' holy powerhouse turned into 18 golden men. At the same time, he shouted, "Open." He merged his power into one of the mechanisms. Crack. Rumble. Rumble. A stone door appeared in the air in front of them. Everyone was stunned by this scene. Lan Mai and Su Su were the same. They too had shocked expressions. The stone door was so large that one could not see the top. It was as if it was a gate to heaven. The stone door slowly opened. From the crack of the door, a strong light wrapped around them. It was as if a divine light was enveloping them, making them feel indescribably comfortable. The power in his body also began to stir. Dense true spirit surged from all directions. Immortal realm, is this the fairyland? It's too comfortable. Wow, I've never felt a breath of true spirit like this before. This is unbelievable. He had to say it. The moment the stone door opened, divine light enveloped it, and one's true soul began to churn. It was as if one had entered the realm of immortals. Even the elder was sitting cross-legged the moment he opened the door, doing his best to absorb the energy that surged out from inside. The Holy Abyss Ruins was the strongest pillar of support for the Factory Sect. This was also the reason why Factory Sect had never fallen for thousands and thousands of years. As long as Holy Abyss Ruins was around, its strength would not decline. Zhu Yuan smirked as he looked at the shocked expressions of the people around him. There was nothing left for him to be surprised about. Zhu Yuan said coldly, "Let's go, follow me into the Holy Ruins." He stepped into the Holy Abyss Ruins. The people behind followed closely. Who? Looking at the huge whirlpool, it looked like a portal in a game. Long Fei did not think much and rushed in. Buzz. A buzzing sound rang out, and it seemed as if his eardrums were about to shatter, causing incomparable pain. At this time, a burst of blinding light blinded Long Fei, causing him to be unable to open his eyes. Buzz. A sword chime resounded as the sword intent descended. The Genshulong sword immediately appeared in front of Long Fei. Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. "Dragon sword, why did you follow me here? I'm so worried." The Genshulong sword was moved. Long Fei looked around and asked, "Where's Chen Wanxiong?" His mission was to clear out the Black Wind stronghold. Since the chief wasn't dead, the mission definitely couldn't be counted as completed. The Genshulong sword moved slightly and pointed not far away. Long Fei looked over, and saw a gigantic pillar-like object soaring into the sky, but he didn't see anything special. Suddenly, the huge pillar suddenly moved and lifted. At this moment, rumble, heavily stomped down. Immediately, the earth shook and the mountains shook. Long Fei couldn't even stand steadily and his entire body was covered. What kind of monster is that? It was also at this time. Help, help. Save me, save me. In the forest, Chen Wanxiong ran out of the house. This was the first time they had seen the Emperor Strongman in such a sorry state. Just as he rushed out of the forest, a huge pillar suddenly dropped down from the sky. Pa Ji, Chen Wanxiong immediately turned into a pile of meat paste. Emperor Strongman was immediately stomped to death. Long Fei's scalp was tingling. F***CK. The heck? A lost world. He was still a Emperor Strongman after all, and yet he just stomped into mincemeat. He was still a Emperor Strongman after all, and yet he just stomped into mincemeat. Terrifying. The terror of an explosion. Long Fei's entire body trembled as he stood there in a daze, muttering to himself, What the F***CK is this world? Be careful. Just as Long Fei was closing in, a shadow descended above his head. It was also at this time. An old man holding a javelin quickly jumped out from the side and rolled over to the side while hugging Long Fei. Rumble. Rumble. With a huge tremor, a meter-deep pit appeared at the place where Long Fei was standing just now. If not for the old man bringing Long Fei away, he probably would have become a pile of meat paste like Chen Wanxiong. F***CK. Long Fei raised his head to look, but it was impossible to see what was above him. How big was this fellow? It was too big to imagine. Young man, this place is very dangerous. The old man said with fear still lingering in his heart. He looked at the sky and watched as the foot that was as large as a pillar disappeared before letting out a heavy sigh. Long Fei hurriedly stood up when he saw the old man, and said, Thank you, senior. The elder laughed, No need to thank me. The old man was covered in beast skin and was covered in black. His face was painted with several camouflage colors and he held a javelin in his hand. He looked just like the barbarians of Blackwind Mountain. Long Fei asked, Are you old chief? The old man was surprised. Have you seen Lisa? Long Fei nodded his head. She's the one who asked me to look for you. The old man wryly smiled and said, This child. Long Fei said, They were very worried about you, and wanted me to rescue you out. Now that Chen Wanxiong and Archmage are both dead, you should quickly return. The Archmage is also dead. The old chief was a little shocked. He looked at Long Fei seriously and said, The cultivation level of this Archmage is not simple. Long Fei said, I am not lying to you, he is indeed dead, your tribe is safe now, Lisa and the others are waiting for you to return. There was still a day and a half left, and once the time was up, the system would determine the failure of the quest. Although there was no penalty for this quest, at least it was an S-rank quest with a special reward. The old chief laughed bitterly and said, Do you think we can still go back? Long Fei turned his head to look at the place where he came in from, and his heart tensed up. Where's the exit? Nothing. Long Fei quickly walked forward, but still didn't see anything. He had obviously come from here, but now it was gone. Old chief said, This place can only be entered, we cannot leave. Long Fei looked around and said, That can't be, this should be a secret world, there should be exits even if there is an entrance. The old chief said, This secret world is not an ordinary secret world, it can be said to be a special plane. The area of this secret world is incomparably large, and the people who enter can say that they either die here or don't want to leave. Long Fei said slightly, You mean the breath of true spirit? The moment Long Fei had entered the place, he had noticed that the breath of true spirit was unusually dense, as if he could grab it with his bare hands. Long Fei had never felt such a strong breath of true spirit before. Cultivating in this sort of place could be said to be 1,000 miles a day, much faster than the outside world. The old chief said indifferently, That's right, the breath of true spirit is more than 10 times richer than the outside. If any martial artist were to enter this kind of place, they would definitely not want to leave. Cultivating it required a large amount of breath of true spirit. With such a blessed land, who would want to leave? With such a dense amount of breath of true spirit most likely they would not even need to use elixirs. Long Fei slightly nodded his head, and said, Indeed, no one would want to leave such a place. However, no matter how good this place is, we cannot forget the relatives and friends of the people in the outside world, not to mention this place is too dangerous. The old chief was a little surprised when he saw Long Fei, and said, "You are right. If you stay in this place for too long, you will forget your original intentions. To extend one's lifespan, increase one's strength, and become an overlord, however. These are all for the better to protect the people around you." Old Chief looked at Long Fei and said, "Do you really want to bring me out?" Long Fei said, "This is the reason why I came here, I must bring you out." Old Chief said, "All right, then you can take a drop of its blood essence and open the gate to time and space. Leave from the place where I came from." While they were talking, Old Chief looked at the sky. At the same time, the system sounded out. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for triggering the hidden quest. Mission: obtain the blood essence of a heavenly beast level, SS time, 1 day reward, 200 million experience points, 1 million true spiritual value, S-class special reward once, the power of creation's random lottery 1. Note: mission failed, level down. Long Fei stared at the mission for a moment. It's triggered, the hidden quest in the S-class mission, and also he looked at the task reward within the system. What's the S-level system's special reward? It has never appeared before. However, Long Fei saw from the S-class special system reward from the Reshaping Sword of War God quest, could it be some kind of super reward that can destroy the heavens and the earth? In addition to the S-class reward, there was also the power of creation, nothing else. Just the power of creation was enough to make Long Fei salivate. "I don't care." Long Fei moved his body and said, "Accept." Ding. System prompt: accept. Begin countdown. A countdown to the time of the mission appeared in Long Fei's mind. This mission only had a day, which meant that he would have to obtain the blood essence of a heavenly beast and hand it over to the old chief within a day. This was the completion of the mission. "All right." Long Fei looked at Old Chief and said, "I'll help you." However, Long Fei looked at the sky. Right now, he couldn't even see the heavenly beast in front of him, so the difficulty of this mission could be imagined. The old chief said indifferently, "Young lad, don't be in such a rush to agree. Listen to me first. You want to take out the blood essence of the demon beast as a heavenly beast. I do not know what terrifying realm you are in now, but I have to clarify one thing. The power of the blood essence of a heavenly beast can only be used once a year to open a dimensional exit. Also, you can only let one person pass at a time. If you succeed in getting the blood essence for me, you might have to stay here for a year." Long Fei was stunned. He immediately scolded in his heart, "System, damn you, why didn't you explain it to your father?" Now that the mission had been accepted, it was impossible for him to go back on his words. Long Fei looked at Old Chief and had no choice but to bite the bullet and fake a smile. "I'm fine if I stay a year longer than I already am. I'll definitely get some blood essence and send you out." His heart was bleeding. "A year. It's all here. Oh my God." Since he already accepted it, Long Fei didn't think too much about it. He had never regretted his decisions before. Even if he had known in advance that a drop of blood essence could only be sent to one person a year out of the secret world, he would have accepted it. Because of the mission, because of the reward, he couldn't give up. This was not just one mission, but two. Then again, with such a dense breath of true spirit of the secret world, cultivating for a year here was considered to be a good place. Even if there were no demon beast to kill, cultivating for a year in ordinary mode would already be profitable. The old chief looked at Long Fei and said, "All right, if you really can get the blood essence and send me out, I will give you some special things as repayment." Long Fei said, "Old chief, first tell me about the heavenly beasts." Old chief said, "Just now you saw that the pillar-like leg is the leg of a heavenly beast." Long Fei swallowed his saliva. He was mentally prepared, but he was still a little shocked. How big was the foot of that huge pillar? To obtain its blood essence, SS-level missions were not that difficult. Luckily, it was just a little bit of essence blood. If it was killed, then the SSS-level mission would probably be more than that, right? The old chief continued, "Our Black Wind clan's ancestor has been here since the beginning, and the heavenly beast was said to have entered from another world. It is also said to have been imprisoned here, and there are also legends that it came here from the ancient world. I really don't know. Heavenly beast, a demon beast produced by the heavens. It is extremely powerful, and if one wants to obtain its blood essence, they must climb up to the top of its head. Only the blood essence on top of its head has the ability to open the gate of time and space. Speaking to here, the old chief couldn't help but look at Long Fei and say, "If you think it's difficult." "It's not difficult at all." Long Fei shook his head. Continue. Long Fei wanted to cry in his heart. Obtaining blood essence from the top of his head was 10,000 times more difficult than pulling out a tooth from a tiger. This was simply courting death. Old Chief said, "Normally, it is very docile, but when someone runs over to its head, it becomes furious and becomes uncontrollable." Long Fei's forehead was covered in black lines. The amount of noodles put together was more than enough. Old Chief said, "Its blood essence is also known as heavenly blood, and every drop of blood essence is the heavenly beast's essence. He will go berserk at that time." Old Chief did not continue and looked weakly at Long Fei. Long Fei's heart was already bleeding, and there was even a handful of salt on it. "Damn you. System Grandpa, I'll have to trouble you to explain the description of the quest in the future. If you want to kill me, just say it, no need to beat around the bush." The Genshulong sword used the voice transmission technique to say, "Master, that guy is too strong. It is not a fellow from the ancient world." Long Fei said, "Can you fly up?" The Genshulong sword hesitated for a moment and said, "I alone should be able to do it, but I'm afraid not." Huff. Long Fei exhaled and said, "Old Chief, you just wait here, don't go too far away, I'll go get your blood essence." Finished. The idea moved, and said, "Dragon sword, first fly to the sky and see how big this guy is." The Genshulong sword moved and quickly flew out. Long Fei looked in the direction in which the giant pillar leg had disappeared, and quickly dashed out. "All right. We're here." As Zhu Yuan's voice fell, he said, "All of you cultivate here, remember one thing, you cannot leave this place, understand?" Dozens of disciples walked into the Holy Abyss ruins. Inside, there was a place the size of a basketball court. On the ground, there were carvings of all sorts of runes, and the power of the rune formed a boundary, wrapping this place up. He couldn't see the outside clearly. But the breath of true spirit here was extremely dense, 5 to 6 times more so than the Saint's Hill. It's too rich. So this is the holy ruins? Training here for one day is equivalent to training outside for a month, right? Don't miss it. Let's hurry up and train. Everyone was excited and quickly sat down cross-legged. To them, they couldn't miss even a second. Zhu Yuan walked over to Shenyuan Li's side and said, "Little sister Li, look after them from here." Shenyuan Li said lightly, "What about you?" Zhu Yuan looked deep into the secret world, and said, "I have other things to do, do not worry about me." Shenyuan Li said, "I heard that Holy Abyss ruins is extremely dangerous, senior brother must be careful." Zhu Yuan smiled faintly. His heart was filled with joy and he wanted to take a step forward. But Shenyuan Li took a step back intentionally or not. Zhu Yuan laughed, "Don't worry, I will take good care of myself. This time I will definitely break through Sky Saint level 6. Finished. Zhu Yuan turned around, and the expression in his eyes darkened slightly. He was slightly unhappy that Shenyuan Li took a step back, as it was something that Shenyuan Li would never have done before. It was that person called Long Fei. Zhu Yuan's heart turned sinister, and he sneered, "You're already dead, right? You dog." A trace of a demonic intent flashed in his eyes. Zhu Yuan's figure moved, and disappeared within the boundary. Su Su said softly, "Sister Lan Mai, that young sect master is missing." Lan Mai nodded his head, "Don't worry about it, we will use this time to cultivate." "Oh," Su Su replied. Everyone was completely immersed in their cultivation, no one cared about what the people around them were doing, they only wanted to absorb the breath of true spirit to cultivate. Thus, after Zhu Yuan disappeared for half an hour, Yang Jin also slowly opened his eyes. Like a ghost, his body gently moved and suddenly disappeared. Rumble. A huge foot fell. Long Fei's eyes moved, snapshot step. Shua. He carried a dark red breath of true spirit with him, and turned into a dark red-colored thread, swiftly rushing to the foot of the huge pillar, and climbing up it. Long Fei climbed up to the layer of clouds and looked up. He still could not see the head of the sky beast. His mind stirred. Let's try it out here first. As the heavy sword fell, Long Fei's sword intent surged, the power of the 9th level of celestial phenomenon ascendant fully unleashed, slashing down with his sword. Buzz. Crack. The mouth of the tiger became numb, and the heavy sword almost fell off. This wasn't really anything. The most important thing was, the heavy sword in Long Fei's hand was currently breaking apart. This was the sword that Elder Swordsman had given him, and the sword weighed more than 50,000 kilograms. The material of this sword was also extremely precious. However, it actually cracked. Countless cracks appeared on the surface of the sword. If he chopped out another sword strike, this heavy sword would completely shatter. However, even if the sword was broken, the heavenly beast's skin was still totally undamaged, not even a scratch could be seen. Just how powerful was this fellow's defense? It was hard to imagine. Long Fei's forehead started sweating profusely. Unbelievable, truly unbelievable. I've never seen this kind of guy before, and I'm done for. Just what the F***ck is this boss? The sword that the Elder Swordsman gave Long Fei, although it did not look like much, was in reality a divine weapon. The sword that the Elder Swordsman gave Long Fei, although it did not look like much, was in reality a divine weapon. However, under the attack of such a heavenly treasure, it did not harm the heavenly beast, but had instead injured the sword in his hands, and he was no longer able to use it. This fellow was unimaginably terrifying. I can't see the boss golden light, so I don't know what level it is. However, the higher the level, the more excited I get. Long Fei's gaze became even more determined, looked at the sky, and once again quickly climbed. In the secret world, somewhere, Zhu Yuan's eyes moved, his eyes filled with traces of dark red blood. Biting down on his index finger, Zhu Yuan's voice sunk. The blood essence is the guide, the sword beast. Come out. The drop of refined blood landed on the ground as numerous symbols spread out. Roar. With a roar, his head was dripping with blood as if he had just crawled out of a pool of blood. His head was shaped like a sword, but it was actually a magical beast that had come roaring out of the rune. The corner of Zhu Yuan's mouth hooked up into a smile. It's been a long time since I've let you out. Go. Let's wreak havoc as much as we want. Roar. The sword beast roared, transforming into a ball of blood-red lightning and directly charging into the dense forest. Next, a series of explosions resounded as tens of thousands of devil fire sword lights shot into the sky. The sword chopped down. A 30,000-meter tall mountain that was slashed into two was like a monster that could destroy the heavens and earth. Zhu Yuan laughed complacently and laughed sinisterly. After a long time, Zhu Yuan said lightly, "Come back." The blood-colored sword beast instantly landed. Zhu Yuan took a step forward, looked at the sky and said, "To the blood of the heavenly beast." His purpose for entering Holy Abyss ruins this time was to obtain the heavenly beast's blood, and as long as he fused with this blood essence, his cultivation would increase by another level, and he would be able to break through his bottleneck. This time, I am definitely going to win against the gathering of heroes of the 10,000 sects. It doesn't matter if you're a demon or an immortal, as long as I can take first place, the sky sect of Ling Clan's gate will always open for me. When I become a descendant of God's tribe, at that time, will Sister Li still obediently stay by my side? Ha ha ha. Zhu Yuan laughed wildly. His figure disappeared. As expected, Yang Jin poked his head out from a towering tree and muttered, "Zhu Yuan is indeed a demonic cultivator. The devil aura on his body is about to reach an uncontrollable extent. Even swords and magical beasts can be summoned." Yang Jin locked the space between his brows. And then, the corner of Yang Jin's mouth slightly curled up, revealing a dark and cold smile. "This is even better." Then, Yang Jin's body slowly disappeared into the trees, and his figure also disappeared. After 4 whole hours, Long Fei was about to collapse from exhaustion. Finally, he climbed onto the back of the heavenly beast. What was unexpected was that he thought it was the back of an ordinary demon beast, but not at all. On his back was a huge forest. And in the distance, golden light flashed above his head. Whoosh! The Genshulong sword descended and said, "Master, I flew around him once, and fought even more than I imagined." And according to the old chief, his blood essence was right above his head. "Did you see that golden thing? It's a golden bell." Long Fei was secretly surprised. "Head with a golden bell? What does that mean?" The Genshulong sword said, "I don't know either, but I seem to have heard someone mention it before, I just can't remember who it is." Long Fei said, "Forget it, the mission is more important." Since he was already here, he didn't care about all that. Just as Long Fei was about to charge towards the top of the heavenly beast's head, 100,000 meters long demonic light suddenly burst forth, its scarlet demonic flame dyeing half the sky red. Long Fei's eyes became tight. "Zhu Yuan?" Long Fei's eyes darkened. He never thought that Zhu Yuan would appear here. Moreover, the boundless devil flame was released from his body. Standing at his feet was a blood-colored sword beast. There was no longer any immortal energy on his body. He was just a demon dweller. It seems like ancient deviltry is right. The divine sword intent he cultivates is the demonic way. Long Fei's heart quivered for a moment, then asked, "What is he doing here?" Logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to come in. This was the secret world, not just anyone could enter. However, Long Fei suddenly thought of Fatri sect's strongest reliance, Holy Abyss Ruins. Could this secret world be the Holy Abyss Ruins? Then, Su Su, are Lan Mai and the others here? The Genshulong sword said, "Master, the devilish flame on that person's body is very strong, should we?" Long Fei recovered his expression and said, "Let's see what he wants to do first." "Heavenly beast, I'll give you a chance to live. Give me 10 points of your blood essence and I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll make you disappear from this world forever." Zhu Yuan was extremely arrogant. He was not scared by the sheer size of the heavenly beast, but was rather calm. Actually, this was not the first time he had seen this heavenly beast. This was not the first time the heavenly beast had seen him. Its eyes darkened, and it looked as though flames were spewing from them. He was instantly enraged. He seemed to have a grudge against Zhu Yuan. Zhu Yuan sneered, and said, "Seems like you are very angry." "Good, today I will drain your blood essence." As soon as he finished speaking, the 30 meters of demonic light around Zhu Yuan instantly turned into sword intent. The sword beast also instantly turned into a sword dripping with blood. Zhu Yuan's figure moved. The sword intent soared to the sky, while the blood-red light shot up to the sky. "Path of the Demon, Sword Demon Mitien." Boom. Originally, the sky had been blood-red for only half a day. However, as soon as he used his sword skill, the entire sky was covered in a blood-red. The sword slashed out. Just like that, a layer of sky came crashing down. Long Fei was overwhelmed with shock, so powerful, it was several levels stronger than the last time he saw it in Dark Magic Forest. The Path of Demon was his true strength. At that time, there would be people from the Fatri sect everywhere, and there would be many big shots from the Fatri sect watching. If he were to completely release the devil in his heart, everyone would know that he was a devil cultivator and that he would not be able to stand up when that time came in the Fatri sect. Even his father, Mr. Celestial, would not be able to save him. But here, no one would see. He could release it to his heart's content. Long Fei was shocked by his power. Without the system to rely on, he would not be able to withstand a single blow. After all, the difference in levels was simply too great. Long Fei could not help but clench his fists. Roar! The heavenly beast let out a roar. Its huge body was extremely agile. It swung its huge tail. Hualala! Hualala! The sound of space shattering sounded out one after another. Beneath the huge tail was darkness. Boom! The huge tail was flung into the air. Buzz! The scarlet sword intents collided with each other. The world began to tremble violently. The heavenly beasts retreated frantically. Zhu Yuan stopped in his tracks, laughed coldly, and said, "Do you think I'm still the same as I was 1 year ago? On the other hand, you have not improved at all in the past year. It seems like you won't be able to improve. This is even better. I shall end your life." Sword Beast. Sword Beast. Roar. The sword released a roar, its speed suddenly changed, and immediately bringing Zhu Yuan into the sky, its entire person looked as though it was about to rush out of the atmosphere. Seeing that, Long Fei secretly thought, "Damn it." This move made him think of the divine way sword intent Zhu Yuan had used in the dark magic forest. It was just that this move had been hidden, but it had now completely exploded out. The true devil Dao sword intent. With a thought, he soared into the sky. A sword slashed out. Long Fei had a feeling that the heavenly beasts would not be able to block this attack. Not only was it the heavenly beast, even Long Fei who was on the heavenly beast's back was in extreme danger. Path of the demon. Devil annihilation. There was a thunderous explosion in the sky as the demonic flames of the ninth heaven began to burn, crushing everything in their path. This strike. Too savage. Long Fei had never seen such a powerful devil flame. The heavenly beast let out a roar, woo. His body also shook for a while, but he did not retreat. His two huge eyes looked up at the sky, and the aura of power around his body surged, bursting forth. Boom. Boom. Streams of power visible to the naked eye. This was an extremely strange aura of power. The two forces collided. Then, an earth-shattering explosion resounded. The entire ruins of immortal destiny began to shake as the shockwaves spread out for 100,000 miles. The towering trees were instantly turned into dust. It was as if the apocalypse had arrived. The boundary disciples who were cultivating felt huge fluctuations from it. Boundary started to shake violently. One ring after another, it seemed as if he couldn't bear it any longer. At the same time, the rich breath of true spirit was also in chaos. What is that sound? What happened? Why is there such a loud noise? The true spirit became chaotic, and could no longer be absorbed. Everyone stood up and looked outside the boundary. A disciple reached out his hand to touch boundary. Bam! His body was struck away by an extremely strong force from the boundary. Flying tens of meters away, he spat out a mouthful of blood, his face extremely pale. Shenyuan Lier quickly said, "Don't touch the boundary, stay away from them all." Susu released the cure, controlling the disciple's injuries. "Thank you, junior sister." Lan Mai warned in a low voice. "Yang Jin is also gone," Susu muttered. "What's going on? How could he suddenly have such a huge impact in his cultivation? And the true spirit is filled with dense demonic energy. Could it be that a devil Dao person has entered the secret world?" Susu's sensing ability was different from ordinary warriors. She could sense many special elements within the breath of true spirit. Lan Mai shook his head and said, "I don't know, but I feel like the boundary can't hold on much longer. Susu, hide behind me later." Buzz, buzz, buzz. The ripples on the boundary grew stronger and stronger as it unceasingly stirred. The shaking of the boundary became more intense. The defensive power of the boundary also began to show signs of being unable to endure anymore. Crack. Suddenly, a crack appeared on the boundary. Shenyuan Lier quickly ran over and said, "Everyone, back off." The gigantic power of true spirit in his body surged to block the attack. Crack. Boom. Not far away, the sound of a boundary collapsing could be heard. Shenyuan Lier's figure moved, and another wave of strength filled the gap. Catcher, catcher. The boundary continued to crack while Shenyuan Lier continued to move. Her consumption of true spirit was huge and the disciples behind her were also panicking. Why is this happening? Will we die? Isn't Holy Abyss Ruins very safe? Miss Holy Maiden, just what happened? Shenyuan Lier simply did not have the time to reply, and she did not know what had happened either. Catcher. Hualala. Boundary had exploded. This time it was as if the sky was split open, a powerful shockwave swept in, the disciples were extremely scared, their faces turned pale. Lan Mai took a step forward, and the vein of blue water's power surged. Susu bellowed, What are you people standing around in a daze for? Hurry up and help us. Shenyuan Li nodded at the two of them to express his thanks. Everyone reacted and also rushed forward, releasing their true spirits. However, the strength of the shockwave was too strong. One wave after another. Their boundary was like a broken umbrella, unable to hold on for long in the torrential storm. 10 minutes later, the boundary was surrounded by cracks that were dozens of meters long, and following that, there was an explosive sound, rumble. The entire boundary had collapsed. A powerful shockwave swept over. Everyone, including Shenyuan Li, were sent flying by the shockwave. They flew more than 10 meters away before hitting the rocks. Everyone's faces turned pale. Susu quickly stood up and released cure one after another. The boundary had broken down, and they were now truly in the Holy Abyss ruins. Slowly, many people stood up and looked into the distance. This was no fairyland, but a hell of an immortal ruins. All kinds of huge buildings were collapsing, mountains were collapsing, and even the bones of beasts were bigger than mountains. This is the holy ruins. Shenyuan Li was also slightly shocked. It was not her first time entering the immortal destiny holy ruins, but she had never known what kind of place was outside of boundary. When she saw it this time, her heart shook greatly as well. Lan Mai looked at a pile of bones within the clouds and asked, "What kind of world is this exactly? The boundary is broken, we don't know what's going on outside, so I'm afraid we won't be able to get out for a while. Why don't we go in and take a look? Maybe there's some ancient immortal treasure here." "You're right. Since you're already here, you can't possibly go back empty-handed, right?" "Yes." The scene in front of their eyes was shocking and equally exciting. If this was an immortal realm world left behind from the ancient times, then would there be a secret treasure of the ancient era here? Maybe if he found one, he would be able to soar into the sky. Susu was extremely interested in secret treasures and adventures, so he immediately said in high spirits, "Sister Lan Mai, let's go as well, hey." Lan Mai looked at Shenyuan Li and said, "Miss Holy Maiden, I'll listen to you with everything here, please speak." Shenyuan Li was also extremely curious, and said, "All right, then let's go in and take a look, but don't mess around, if we miss the time to leave, we won't be able to get out." Everyone nodded in excitement. Shenyuan Li led everyone and stepped into the holy ruins. In the distance, Ju Yuan was wrapped up by a ball of demonic red flame, and looking at the dying heavenly beast that was covered in sword wounds, he sneered, "I never thought that you could withstand one of my strikes, but the next strike. I want your dog life." You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.